Paris. He did like the whole Instagram, like he would take where all the Instagram photos are. Definitely go there.
Give up more? Something?
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we're getting started. All right, I'd like to call to order the August 19, 2025 meeting of the West Palm Beach Planning Board. Madam Clerk, if you kindly call the roll.
Jean Marseille Jr.,
Present.
Patrick Mayfield,
Present. Present.
Will Corrente,
Present.
Stephen Mayans,
Present.
Deborah Rain,
Present.
Sam Fish, Daniel Kuchakshin. And let the record reflect that Peter Pivko is not present.
Thank you. Next order of business is approval of the July 15, 2025 minutes. Has everyone had the opportunity to review them? Are there any changes or corrections? And hearing none, we're looking for a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion. Have we a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Next on our agenda is report of the planning staff. Ms. Van.
Good evening, Board. Angela Van, Planning and Zoning Administrator. I have no presentation at this time. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions of staff of that report? I don't think so. Thank you. All right. So next on the agenda are remarks about the chairperson, of which I have none. That then leads us to the declaration of ex parte communications. With respect to Planning Board case number 2009, let me begin. I had a Zoom meeting with the applicant. I also received 2 email letters, both in support of the project, which I will submit to the clerk. With respect to this Planning Board case, I will be making my decision based solely upon the evidence presented this evening. As to all other matters, I've had no ex parte communications. I've received no written communications. I have conducted no investigations. I made no site visits. I have received no expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made a part of the record. Does anyone have anything to disclose? Let me start with Eugene on that end, please.
As to all matters on the agenda, I have not communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. Not made a site visit. I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Thank you. Patrick.
With respect to Planning Board case number 2003, I did have a Zoom conversation with the applicant, just presenting basic information about the project. Of course, my decisions this evening will be based solely upon the testimony presented. With respect to all other agenda items, I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit, and I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Thank you, Will.
As to matter PB 2003, I did have a Zoom call with Mr. Seymour and the designer. I will base my decisions this evening solely on the evidence presented. I have not, I did receive a letter, email of support from Claudia Kirk-Bartow, and I'll furnish that to the record if I need to. I have not conducted an investigation, for all other matters on the agenda tonight, I have not had ex parte communications, I have not received written communication, I have not conducted an investigation, I have not made a site visit, and I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Thank you so much. Debbie.
As it relates to the agenda items, I did receive a phone call regarding Planning Board case 2003, which I was not able to respond to. And I also received an email regarding support for this particular case. I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communication. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit, and I have not received expert opinions. And I do request that these disclosures and all other written communications be made part of the record.
Thank you. Sam.
As to Planning Board Case 2003, I did have a Zoom meeting with the applicant to go over information on the project. I also did receive 2 emails from members of the community in support of the project. As to all other matters on the agenda, I have not had any ex parte communications. I have not received other written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made any site visits. I have not received any expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communication be made part of the record.
Thank you. TK.
As to Planning Board Case number 2003, I did have a Zoom call with the applicant, and I did receive 2 email communications in support, which I've shared with the clerk to be entered into the record. As to all other matters on the agenda, I have not had ex parte communications, have not received written communications, have not conducted an investigation, have not made a site visit, and I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
And TK, can you affirm that you'll base your decision solely on the evidence presented?
And I'll base my decision solely on the evidence presented here today.
Thank you so much. Okay, that then brings us to the swearing in of speakers. Would everyone who plans to speak or offer testimony this evening please stand up and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to be giving in this proceeding will be truthful? I do. Thank you. You may be seated. That then brings us to Planning Board Case number 1111 FFF.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Board. For the record, Harvey Oyer of Schutz & Bowen on behalf of the applicant, Palm Beach Atlantic University. I'm delighted to be before you this evening. It's a fairly minor request to jog your memory. We were in front of you, I want to say, in February for the approval of a new dorm project and the garage that accompanied that. When it made it to, and it enjoyed your approval, went to the City Commission where it was approved, but with a condition that we come back to the Planning Board and the City Commission with agreed upon screening on the garage on Dixie Highway. So we are here to fulfill that requirement. Additionally, the university is voluntarily reducing the height of the proposed garage, and we have one minor waiver. The decorative elements require their own structural support columns, which require a waiver on a setback. So all fairly straightforward. I will walk you through it quickly. We're all familiar with PBAU, one of the great assets of our city. They are part of a CSPD, a Community Service Plan Development, which is highlighted in blue, and the particular site within the CSPD is the one outlined in red. So a reminder, City Commission approved a 25-story dorm to accommodate 990 students, an 11-level parking garage with 888 parking spaces, an increase in the student enrollment cap, 4 waivers, and the last bullet point is why we are here tonight, the condition of approval, which requires a major PD amendment to, quote, improve the facade of the garage. And we have been working with staff since April, and we join with staff tonight with an agreed upon design, or largely agreed upon. Few issues for you to provide direction on, Mr. Chair. Again, we are here primarily seeking direction on that facade improvement. Also, we are voluntarily proposing to reduce the height of the garage from 11 levels to 8.5 levels. That's a 21-foot reduction in the overall height of the garage. And the screening, again, requires columns that are in an 8-foot setback on Dixie Highway that generates a waiver. So this is the site. Let's talk about the design. So first of all, let me share with you what the design, the geometric design element is on the garage. It is an ichthys symbol, which is also referred to as a Jesus fish. It's a symbol from early Christianity. It's been around since the 2nd century. It is elsewhere on the PBAU campus. As you know, it's a Christian university, so there are many examples of this on the campus. And in fact, it was the city's art life director, Sabile, who walked the campus and said, why don't you use that ichthys symbol on the garage, which of course we thought was more than appropriate. So that is within the geometric designs that you are about to see. So this shows what was approved, what's being proposed, and the delta between the two, reduction of 2.5 levels. We do lose 185 parking spaces, which does matter. I want you to be aware of this. The reason the garage was designed at 888 spaces and 11 floors to begin with is because we have parking requirements with the city, and they were asking us to make the parking whole on the campus. The new business building that's topped out took away parking. This dorm project takes away parking. We've lost on-street parking due to abandonment of roads. We have lost a number of off-site parking spaces, and we're increasing the enrollment cap. So when you add all that up, a lot of new spaces were needed. We tried to park it to code. That's what the City Commission voted to do. As you know, there was some angst about the height of it. So we're coming back knowing that we're losing 185 spaces. We're somehow going to have to make up for that elsewhere on the campus in the future. But we did want to reduce the height of the garage on Dixie Highway, which is very much in the public realm. So the west facade facing Dixie Highway, this is the architectural treatment that has been proposed. And you can see the ichthys throughout the designs. Again, this was a recommendation from Sabile, which we think is a terrific design. The north facade of the parking garage, which faces one of the side streets, and the south facade each have partial treatments. This is Dixie Highway. We've treated it about 2/3 of the way east. And then we have to leave open ventilation so that we don't have a mechanically ventilated garage. Remember, this is a 100% affordable housing project. So, there's a budget on doing this. This is not a luxury high-rise where we can put all the gingerbread that we want to. We need to make this as beautiful as we can within a budget for dorm rooms that students can still afford to pay the rent on. Now, that is going to be a subject of discussion this evening because staff would like this eastern 1/3 of the north and south facades also ornamented or decorated in some way. And we think we've reached agreement on how to do that. We couldn't add to the budget, so we're going to rearrange some of the ornamentation so we're not paying for more of it and reappropriate it over so the entire north and south facades are covered. So our proposal that was in the package that's in your backup is that 74% of it is covered either with the metal geometric designs or scoring in the masonry. After we're done tonight and staff makes their presentation, I think we're going to get some direction from you on how, without increasing the budget, because by the way, the budget was set, the bonds were issued, there is no more money. It's under construction, so we need to find a way to jointly make this work. But I think we can do that by reappropriating some of the other design. Similar issue on the south facade, the eastern 1/3, which is the least visible from the public, by the way. You kind of need to be on the side street to see it for the most part. Everything in blue already has ornamentation. The goal tonight, or at least before City Commission hears this, is to satisfy staff that we're covering 100% of it. So on your left is the original proposal that came to you, and there was a lot of commentary, including from this board and the City Commission, what is appropriate decoration and coloring. On the right is what is in your package, which is lightening the colors on the corners, adding some, holes in it, scoring, and this geometric design, while not enclosing the garage and triggering very expensive mechanical ventilation. Here is another image of it. Oops. This is looking south down Dixie Highway, and this is looking north up Dixie Highway back towards the downtown and I can come back to any of these. This puts it in the context of the surrounding building height. I'm not sure why we keep skipping ahead. I'm not doing that. But if you look at the height of the dorms that were built a few years ago, the height of this building, it's about the same datum line between these buildings. And of course, we have more big buildings coming in the block to the north. Not to mention the two South Flagler House buildings, the Forte building, and what will be two family church buildings under construction. So the height really wasn't a big concern except for the garage on Dixie Highway. The waiver setback request, which I'll better illustrate in a graphic, we have a required 8-foot setback. A few of the support columns are within that. It's in a landscaped area. You'll still have the same amount of landscaping, so whatever the required number of hedges were, you'll still have that. It's just there will be some columns in the middle of the hedges. This graphically depicts it better. So working left to right, Dixie Highway, then a landscaped area, then a 10-foot sidewalk. None of that goes away. So the public realm is all the same. But in this 4-foot planted area, which is the second layer of landscaping before you get to the garage building, we are supposed to have an 8-foot setback. And where these columns jut out, we only have 6.5 feet at the worst point. There are lesser encroachments, but the greatest encroachment is 6.5 feet. And that occurs in about a half a dozen places. This gives you a cross-section view of the same thing. It will not change the public experience on the roadway, the parallel parking, any of the landscape. The sidewalk's still 10 feet. The active use liner is still there, so the public perception of this will not exist. So this is the Dixie Highway frontage. I'm sorry, I don't know why this keeps skipping around. This is the garage above, our active use liner on Dixie Highway. So Dixie Highway, parallel parking, 4 feet of landscaping, 10-foot sidewalk, what should be another 4 feet of landscaping, but where these columns come out to support this is where we're seeking the waiver. Staff supports it. Now let's talk about the 3 conditions of approval that are in your package, and all of these pertain to the garage aesthetic treatment. The first one is that the staff wanted to extend the treatment on the entire north and south elevations, which we are committed to doing. We just need to find a way to do it without exceeding the budget that has already been set. Second is the rhythmic pattern, which I'm not sure we're in agreement with staff as to which columns of geometric designs get moved to where, but we will work that out before City Commission. Delighted to have your input on that, should you have any input. And condition C, that the paint color will be the same. We agree to that. That was always the intention. It just didn't always show up in the illustrations. With that, Mr. Chair, we're concluded.
Okay.
Delighted to answer any questions you have. You may want to hear from
Okay.
staff first.
Let's first see if there are any questions of you. Sam, any questions?
Not right now, no.
Debbie? Will, not likely not to have questions.
You know what I'm going to ask about. So why the decision to reduce the 3 stories for parking? Was it budget reasons or?
I don't know all the reasons, Will, is the short answer, but there was, all of our neighbors supported the 11-story. But I think we felt it was awfully tall in the public realm, even though we were trying to honor one part of the code, which is the parking ratio in the code. We're also cognizant that we want to be a good community citizen. We want to have an attractive campus, and it was feeling large. So we asked our design team, who's present tonight, if they could go back and redesign it at a shorter height, lose as few spaces as possible while they were doing this decorative condition of approval that we knew we had to come back for. And this is what they came up with. And we hate to lose the spaces, but frankly, we think it looks better being 21 feet shorter.
And then significant cost savings, right, for taking those 3 stories out?
You know, yes and no. So in absolute terms, yes, but those spaces can also be monetized. So we're really not saving any money. Those are spaces that
Well, you're
could be
saving it
rented.
today, you're losing
Right,
it
so
tomorrow.
it's a bit of a wash money-wise. Yeah.
Thank you. Patrick?
I do have a couple of quick questions. I guess generally, could you speak a little more, in more detail about the materiality of the screen wall assembly and the treatment of the facades? It looks like there's a couple of different treatments, some that appears to be just maybe stucco scoring or potentially precast panels fixed to the facade, and then these inserted, I'm assuming some sort of aluminum metal work.
Yes, I'm going to let the architect, Chris Santoro, address those questions. Chris?
Chris Santoro with Cube 3. We're the architect of record. So in terms of materiality, the majority of the panels that we're looking at, the garage is almost entirely precast concrete. I think I heard a comment about aluminum, which is the metal fabrication for the symbols. So there's a couple of different treatments like you're saying, but all of the panel work and the garage itself is all precast concrete. So those panels are sitting on the columns below, but like a layer, like proud of the main garage. The band at the top, that is still precast panels, and it's still metal work, but it's basically like applied to it as opposed to kind of hovering over an opening. And then on the whether it's the towers on the corner here or the shear wall panels that are on the side, it's more of a scoring, but again, it's to precast concrete panels. They're just like the same panels of the garage. They're not applied on top of the garage.
So there's no stucco treatment over the
There's no
concrete
stucco on the
panels?
garage.
It's just architectural finish concrete panel?
Correct.
And is it, the way it's represented here is like in two-tone? That is,
Multiple colors, yeah. They're kind of like a tone on tone, but yes,
Okay.
two different tones.
and you're manipulating the actual color of the concrete, you're not applying a paint or anything?
No, it'll be painted.
It is painted. That's what's providing the contrast here.
Yes.
And the metal work, is that like a powder-coated finish or an anodized finish?
I think it'll probably be more matte. It's not going to be super shiny, so it's probably more of a powder coat. I think we're working through some of the details, but it'll be more of a matte finish.
Okay. And my second question is relative to the waiver. I'm assuming it doesn't appear so in what's been represented, but I'm assuming the setback encroachment is not affecting the visibility triangles at the corners of the parcel.
No, the columns are all interior to the west elevation. They're
Okay.
not at the corners.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. Gene, any questions?
I appreciate the context with the parking ratios, and Will might have alluded to this regarding reduction in cost for reducing the garage 3 stories. Can those funds not be allocated towards the additional screening that's required?
No, that's a bit of a wash because those spaces are funded through a bond based on the revenue those spaces would have generated. So when you cut out the 185 spaces, you cut out the revenue that supported the bond. So the whole budget went down and the amount funded for construction went down
Got it.
commensurately.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, thank you. All right.
Thank
May
you.
we hear from staff?
Good evening, Ana Maria Ponte, Development Services Director. So Harvey did a very good job explaining the whole presentation and all the changes that they are doing. We appreciate very much the work that they have been doing to try to address the concerns that the city have. So in terms of the facade, so we are in full agreement with the reduction of the parking levels. That definitely brings the parking structure more in context with the surroundings. And the treatment that they are proposing, the west elevation is, it's a very appealing look for a garage. It's actually something, looks very nice. They are using, as Mr. Mayfield question, these panels that are applied to the facade and the metal work that provides a very good articulation. So staff has worked with them and has some concerns regarding the treatment of the north and the south facade. From our perspective, these facades are very visible as you are traveling Dixie Highway in both directions. You are gonna see these facades, and that's why staff has some concerns about the way they are basically stopping at some point and not continuing the treatment of the facade. We have worked with them, recognizing probably the Dixie is the most important, but then we would like to have some treatment that basically provides a context to the entire building. We have worked with them. If you look at the portion in the middle of the facade, it's a shear wall that is part of the structure, so this element is not gonna have the precast applied to it or the panels applied to it. It's gonna have just scoring, creating the pattern. And we thought that could be a good option to not increase the cost that they were concerned, but it still provides some articulation and some context to the north and the south facade. So at this point, we have just requesting some conditions of approval so we can continue working with them on how to make this facade consistent. We have some ideas and we have been back and forth with the architect. We have not reached an agreement yet, but the goal is to try to provide some continuity to the north and the south. Maybe there were some discussions about maybe removing one of the elements on the west facade to be able to use it on the north and the south. And if the rhythm of the panels are more consistent with the west facade, we can work with that and provide a more kind of complete look. So we will like to request some additional time, so that's the reason for the conditions of approval. We offer some suggestions, but we have not really reached an agreement of how to solve this. It's more like a design exercise on all the details on that. We support, as I said, the reduction of the building height and the number of parking spaces on the building. We support the waiver request for the building setback. I think that has, it's kind of some give back for the treatment that they are being able to accomplish. But then the north and the south facade is kind of where we are still working, and would like to have a little bit more time to work with them and resolve it before it goes to the City Commission. We're really looking forward to hear the board's perspective on this, but staff intention is to really have a complete building, so it looks like a full volume. The recommendation is approval with conditions. Staff believes it complies with the standards in Section 9432A and Section 9435C for design qualitative development standards. We have, as it was mentioned, the 3 conditions that we would like to recommend for approval so we can continue working with the applicant. That concludes the staff presentation.
Okay, thank you. Debbie, let me start with you. Any questions? Sam?
Is there any treatment on the garage on the elevation that faces east?
No, I believe it's just so it will be like this treatment in here, right? Yeah. So it's facing the building, so it's totally interior to the project. So they are having just this, basically the crash wall and nothing else on the east elevation.
It's attached to the building, or it just faces the building?
It's separated.
So there's nothing on that wall?
It's a service road between the garage and the residential.
Okay. Was there, I mean, maybe that's a question for the applicant, but was there a reason why the application was changed from the original design to this design? Was that a city request, or was it a?
You mean the original treatment of the garage?
The garage design?
Well, the facade, treatment on the garage, was that the city requested that it be changed, or was that something that the applicant changed on their own?
Yeah, let me go back to our.
The city requested. It was a condition, of their approval, that they had to change it.
You mean this one?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is what was shown, I think, to you. I was not at that hearing, but it was shown to the city commission. It had sort of this wave feature, and the city commission approved the 25-story dorm, the 11-story garage, but said, we're not sure we love this screening. Will you please work with staff and come back at a later date with something that, looks different? We weren't sure what that was, quite frankly. It's in the eye of the beholder, but they did not love it. So we worked with Sabile, the city's art life director, and asked her for her suggestion, and she came up with what is before you tonight, which we actually like much better as well, and so does staff. So if you're asking why did we not present that in the first place, we took a standard garage, screening and proposed it. But we've always been open to a different design. We just need to make it affordable.
Got it. Yeah, I just didn't know if it was the city's requirement or whether it was just changed for.
I wouldn't call it a requirement. It was city staff's suggestion. And we worked back and forth with them, and we're happy with it. They're happy with it. But if you're asking where did this original one come from, I think it was more of a standard garage screening. And the city wanted the screening, and so did we, to somehow be related to Palm Beach Atlantic University, not an off-the-shelf one that could be in any city in America. We had even thought about putting the sailfish, which is PBAU's logo, but I don't think anyone wanted a giant sailfish on the side. So, this is what we came up with.
Got it. Okay.
Thank you. We have staff back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions of staff, Sam?
Yeah, I was just curious on the, I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
The space in between the parking garage and the dormitory, you said that's a service road? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. That was my own, just want to clarify. Thank you.
Will.
So on the, going back to the previous pictures that were shown, it looked like there was significantly more open space for airflow. So I'm a little confused. Are these panels all solid concrete?
On these facades?
On the facades.
I mean, the center panel, this area, has always been a solid panel. And then the two sides are basically the crash wall for the cars, and then the space between the slab and the crash wall has always been open. And the treatment in this will remain the same. It's just the metal work applied to it. So,
and so in your condition for approval, it says full on the north and the south?
Full means like we just want treatment all the way to the end.
So
not
full.
in here you see like they have some of the metal decorative elements, and then we work on doing some scoring lines on the center panel that mimic a little bit of the treatment on the west elevation. So something needs to be done in here so the facade looks complete, not kind of stopping halfway.
And so that could either be decoration or it can be these mounted panels.
I think the idea will be decoration, not to reduce the flow of air. So how do we space those?
Would they have to incur the cost of creating those fish-style patterns for the entire side of the structure?
Yeah, so that's what we are trying to work out, with the idea that they don't have to incur the cost of creating new panels. So some of the options was for like using these four to distribute throughout the entire facade, and maybe remove, for example, this one in the front on west, that we think if we reduce just that one will not impact the overall appearance, and then distribute to the other side so we can kind of create a more cohesive front. So that's what we need a little bit of time to work it out. We don't want to do something that brings down the look of the west facade, and now it's gonna be bad. So we want to try to work it and see how can we do something to distribute something, or that's why we're talking about the rhythm, is the scoring lines on the solid panel. We make them a rhythm that is consistent with the one on the west, that looks better, and maybe if we add the decoration, the metal elements, in a certain pattern on the north and the south, that will be sufficient with the ones that we have to just provide that whole design.
So right now, across the street from the spot is the construction trailers, and it looks like some sort of air conditioning, mechanical. Is that area going to be developed at some point?
Yeah, eventually, yes.
Okay, so that side of the building won't necessarily be as visible a few years
Eventually.
from now?
Yes, so that's why we are saying, like, yes, it's not as primary as the west, but it's still visible and it will be impactful. So we are kind of doing a lesser degree of treatment, but it's still something.
But and then on the north side of there, you have that service alleyway, and then you have the beginning of the dorms or the library. But you have like an 8-story building
On the
just to the
east
north.
side, you mean?
No, this yellow structure to the left.
This one?
Yeah. So how many stories is that?
How many stories? No, 2? This building?
It's a gym and a second floor of the gym, so it's a large structure. It's not a 2-story building.
Okay, so maybe.
I'm just trying to think of line of sight, driving down the road at 35 miles an hour. You know, how important is it for the entire side of the building to be decorative versus it being a want versus a need? And what's going to happen a few years from now, especially on the south side of that building, when that lot is potentially developed as well? So just so that I'm sticking on the word full. So, you know, if it's predominantly, if it's, you know, but it sounds like you guys are open to compromise, and if, as Harvey, can I direct a question to Harvey?
Let's
Okay.
this is a chance to ask questions. I'm sure we reserve time to answer any questions at the end, but let's stick with the questions of staff.
Okay.
Any other questions of staff?
No.
All right, Patrick. Jean, I have a question. It sounds like the applicant is more than willing to consider a lot of these ideas so long as the overall cost won't go up. Is the staff comfortable with that constraint? In other words, do you believe without increasing the cost, you could come up with a better outcome?
We will do our best. Like, we can work with that.
Okay, well, I think that's important because I think we give the direction, you know, that we want them to continue to work with staff, at the same time cognizant of the need not to increase the cost because of the bond financing. I share some of Will's concerns that I would hate to see the west exposure that looks, I think, very attractive, diluted too much for something that may ultimately not can be visible, that's all.
Okay.
I mean, these are the trade-offs. I know you will balance all those, but his concern is one I would share as well. Okay, if there's no other questions of staff, would anyone from the public wish to be heard? Do we have any cards on this particular application? Does anyone wish to be heard on this particular matter? And if not, we'll bring it back to the board. Does anyone have any concerns? I mean,
Like I said, my concerns are the overview beautification of the north and south for something that you're not really, unless you're sitting in traffic, you're not going to notice because you're going to drive past at 35 miles an hour. So I think if we could put some sort of caveat in there that says, provided that it does not increase the budget beyond what it is today, I would be happy with that.
I'm actually comfortable with that too. Gene, any thoughts as we go up and down?
No additional thoughts, but I agree with the analysis there.
Patrick?
If I'll weigh in, I think it's certainly an improvement from what we saw a few months ago, and I appreciate the hard work of the design team to respond to the city's comments. The height reduction, you know, for me, doesn't really play into this. I think it's their decision, their prerogative. If I could offer any advice on the facade treatment, I think what's successful on the west facade is sort of the play and the attenuation of the scale of the treatment of the components, and that you have some variability there, where the north and the south seem to just be expressions of the same component iterated over and over. If you could adapt some of that variability in the scaling of the decorative features to the north and south, you might even be able to get some efficiency there and reducing some of the material, just expanding the scale of it, perhaps.
I was about to make the same comment, but I don't want to take away your thunder. Keep going.
But I think largely it's successful, and I think it still relates to the adjacent structure, which is important to have that relationship. I think I wrote something else down. Yeah, on those the solid shear walls on the north and south, maybe you just adopt the same horizontal scoring. I'm having difficulty understanding the introduction of the vertical scoring pattern because it doesn't relate to any other component of the building that is expressed elsewhere. But those are just thoughts. Take them or leave them.
Okay. Friedman, did you speak already on this? Yeah. Okay. Debbie, any thoughts as we get ready to vote? Sam? TK?
I share my colleagues' analysis and want to applaud staff again for coming back to the table and doing the good work. I do believe this is a significantly improved design, one that speaks to the character of the university and the neighborhood. And I, again, appreciate not just staff, but the designers and getting back to work and finding a compromise and hope we get a finished product to present to the board.
Terrific. So I think we're looking for the motion. The only difference we discussed as opposed to the suggested language was that among the things set with the condition is that it be done in a mind not to increase the overall cost, that they continue to work with staff, but not in such a way as would increase the overall cost.
Can you guys put the slide up that has the three conditions so that we can review them before the motion?
The C was not an issue. So is A, they want time that to continue the discussions to try to see if there's a way to cover the entire facades. I think we're in agreement that could be explored with the condition being that the overall cost of the project not be increased, right? Is that still everyone's feeling?
Condition A would be amended.
Yeah, other than that, I think the rest was okay, unless, Patrick, unless you wanted to refine B. Okay, so we're looking for a motion then.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I move that the planning board recommend to the city commission approval of planning board case 1111FFF, PD 25050066, a request by Joni Brinkman of Urban Design Studio on behalf of Palm Beach Atlantic University, Inc., for a major amendment to the Palm Beach Atlantic University Community Service Plan Development, modifying the parking garage structure approved by resolution number 74-25 by reducing the number of levels for the parking garage structure from 11 to 8.5 levels, revise the garage facade for a more contextually appropriate wrap, and waiver to the building setback along South Dixie Highway. The motion is based upon testimony presented at the hearing, along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitutes competent substantial evidence. The planning board hereby makes finding of fact that the application complies with the required standards in section 94-32A and section 94-35C of the City of West Palm Beach zoning and land development regulations. In addition, this recommendation is made subject to the conditions of approval contained in the staff report dated August 19th, 2025, with the further condition that letter A is modified as follows. The architectural treatment shall be extended along the full entire facade of the north and south building elevations, provided it does not increase the current budget as allocated for the parking garage. I move that these conditions, and then condition B and C shall apply without modification. I move that these conditions as modified are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the zoning and land development regulations and consistency with the comprehensive plan of the City of West Palm Beach.
All right, we have a motion. Have we a second? Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, that brings us to planning board case number 2003. Mr. Seymour, are you going to do the honors or someone else? Thank you. You are a star.
That's the one we gave you, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good evening, Ken Tuma with Urban Design Studio. Address is 610 Clematis Street, West Palm Beach. I've been sworn in. Thank you for having me here this evening. I have a presentation for you this evening that it's going to work its way. It's going to be slow at the beginning, and I'm going to pick up the pace at the end, but there are a lot of slides in this presentation. What is in front of you this evening is 5400 North Flagler. And ladies and gentlemen, we have our whole team assembled, architects, landscape architects, designers. The whole crew is here to answer any questions that you may have. But what you have in front of you tonight is the end of a collaborative effort. I give our client a lot of credit. This has been a very collaborative effort with the neighbors. While tonight you will hear people who are for the project, you will hear people who are against the project, but at the end of the day, our client has worked diligently in the design and also has received the support of the neighborhood association that this area is impacted by. So we have worked diligently as part of that. As also part of this, we have a world-class designer. A gentleman named Mosi Safti is the designer of this project. I'm going to walk you through a little bit more detail on that when we get there. Luckily, we have our local architect, Mr. Spina, here to help me out also. Now, we also understand, reviewing the staff report, that staff has some feedback for us. That feedback is primarily on our western facade, on how we're approaching Flagler. I'm going to walk through that, and we're going to have a respectful difference of opinion, and that's okay. So we are looking forward tonight to presenting this to you, and hopefully you'll see that this has been a very collaborative approach. At the end of the presentation, I would request the opportunity to have rebuttal after the public hearing and the staff have spoken. So allow me to start the presentation. This slide I'm going to spend a little bit of time on because it's a really, really important slide. The subject site located here is 3.01 acres. Its address is 5400 North Flagler. Immediately on the left-hand side of your screen is Placido Mar. That's an existing condominium building today. It's 255 feet of height. It is 26 stories and has 145 units. That's this property here on the left-hand side. And then as you approach the property, there are single-family and multifamily residents on 52nd and 53rd Street. And then our subject site, which was built in 1962, which is a 3-story property. Then immediately to the north is the Brian Chappell Park. And then on the right-hand side is the Palm Beach House. And I'm going to spend some time talking about the Palm Beach House. The Palm Beach House is 280 feet of height. Today it has 281 units. And you'll note the Palm Beach House also has a 1-acre parking structure adjacent to our property. This is important because from our design concept, we took this all into consideration. The presentation that I'm going to give you tonight discusses our building, the building that we're proposing. That building is 360 feet in height. It is 31 stories. The Palm Beach House is 30 stories. Our proposal includes 2 stories, which are a podium, parking podium. So we have 2 stories that are parking podium. And then on top of that, we have 29 livable stories. The differential in the height is the change in design characteristics over the course of time. For a frame of reference, this 30-story building would be very similar, if not taller, if it was built to today's standard, and more if it had the parking underneath it and then a standalone structure. So just a quick summary of where we are and the requests that are specifically in front of you this evening. This is a rezoning. The underlying rezoning, or the underlying zoning here is multifamily 32.27 dwelling units per acre. We are not requesting any additional units than what's allowed in that zoning district. What we're asking for you to do, which is what you've done on other projects up and down that corridor, is do a residential plan development, an RPD. In that RPD, we are then asking for a formal level 2 site plan, and that has, excuse me, and has basically 4 waivers associated with it. Those 4 waivers that are on the screen in front of you are standard waivers that you've seen through the development process. I am going to spend my most time looking at waiver number 3 when we get to that part of the presentation, because site and rear setback equate to height in the city, and I'm going to spend some time walking through that. So a little bit about Great Golf, who's our client here this evening. They're in the audience. They are a Canadian firm. They also have a significant footprint all over the United States, including they own a home building company called Ashton Woods. But here in the city of West Palm Beach, they are not new. In fact, they were kind of one of the pioneers of the Renaissance that we're seeing now. Way back when, and many of you will remember, the 1515 building, it was called the Modern. It was destroyed during hurricanes in 2003, 2004. And if you recall, in 2008, it was imploded. It was like this great event in the city. It was fun. I remember watching it and having a great time. Well, what happened after that? The economy imploded, right? And so that project then failed. These folks purchased it, and they now have developed what is known as La Clara. So they have started that change that has occurred on the south end. La Clara was the first building out of the ground. They've done a very nice job with it. So that's Great Golf. A little bit about our architect, Mosi Safdie. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a world-class architect. We were so fortunate all the architects we're getting to see on all the projects in West Palm Beach. Mr. Safdie and his firm are very unique. And I'm not going to walk you through all the projects he's done across the world, but at the bottom right-hand corner, I suspect some of you may have visited, is the Holocaust Memorial in Jerusalem. Mr. Safdie was the architect for that. This is your local team, the normal players that are used to dealing with. Give Great Golf a lot of credit. They know that they need to reach out into the local community to make sure that they understand the city of West Palm Beach, the processes, the staff, the constraints that are associated with. The majority of the names are here are names that you deal with every day. The zoning on the site today, as I said, is MF32. The request is to change it to RPD, or Residential Plan Development. This is the development program. Existing today are the Poinciana apartments, constructed back in 1966. There are 2 3-story buildings and 72 units. Our proposal is to go to 97 units in a 31-story tower. Now, the addition of those 25 units are allowed under the zoning regulations. We are not requesting a land use change or an upzoning. We're requesting to use what is out there or allowed today. So when we started the design process, before Mr. Safdie got involved, and then when Mr. Safdie got involved, we talked about the context of the area. What's happening in the North Flagler area? Starting on the right-hand side of your screen is the Marina Village. The tallest building in the Marina Village is 399 feet. It's not constructed, but you have noticed the Icon building and the development that's occurring in that area. Starting on the left-hand side is the Palm Beach House, which sits at 31 stories, 280 feet. Our proposed is 31 stories, and then immediately to the south of that is 26 stories for Posido Mar. And then you'll note Apogee, which is already approved at 235 feet, and Elbow, which is under construction today. So when Keith, Mr. Spina, and I had the opportunity to look at the project initially, of course, we looked at it like we look at things because our view is different. We recognize developers don't like to spend a lot of money, so we said, let's do a standalone parking garage, and what would that look like? On the left-hand side of your screen, that's what we came up with. Ladies, this is a typical design that you'll see from builders and developers. Well, give Great Golf credit. They said this lot is 220 feet wide, 600 feet deep. We could do something different. Mr. Safdie said, well, let's not look at the way this goes. Let's do a podium, maybe a 2-story podium, and not do internal ramping within that podium so we keep the height down. So that was the design we started with. Then we looked at, okay, what is allowed today under the zoning, under MF32? On the screen in front of you, on the left-hand side, is a by right building that can be constructed. It's 150 feet of height. Ken, how do you get a building 150 feet of height in MF32? The answer is simple. It's a 220-foot wide lot. The way the code works, you take the height of the building, you divide by 2, and you have to have those setbacks. This building is 70 feet wide. It could be 150 feet high. So that's what's by right. On the right-hand side is what we're proposing. Different, slender, a taller building, obviously, at 360 feet, but a unique design. Now, these are just massing diagrams. I'm going to walk you through the details of the actual building itself. So this is the first slide of the building itself. Excuse me for one second. I got off my notes. This is the first slide of the building itself. Here in the center on the right-hand side is Palm Beach House. This is the parking garage. This is the park. This is the park's dock that sits out today. And this is our building. Some things to look at on this building. First thing, its height. It's 31 stories. The top floor is an amenity deck. You'll notice the use of balconies and glass, which I'll show you in a better view. And then here you'll notice this 3-story element. On both sides of the rear is a townhome. So there are these fairly large townhomes in the back, one on the north, one on the south. And then you'll notice the deck, the amenity deck, and all the items associated with the building. So that is kind of a quick view of the rear of the building. Allow me to jump to the front of the building, and I'm going to spend a lot of time on this slide. This slide is really important. It really identifies what's happening on this project. It's a bird's eye view. We're not exactly at ground level. The camera's up probably, say, 30, 40 feet looking at the building itself. First thing I want you to notice is the slenderness of the building, the use of the balconies, the use of the glass, and how the building relates. It's a beautiful building sitting in very nicely. You'll also notice on the side the significant landscape buffers on both sides, very heavily treed and also very well blocked from our neighbors from the north and the south. The next thing to notice is the depth of this building. The depth of this building from a setback standpoint, I will also show you this in plan view, is 170 feet from the road. Excuse me, from the right-of-way. It's about 182 feet from the road. So the tower element is way set back. Yes, there is some podium. This is a 20-foot podium element here. It sits 25 feet off of the right-of-way or about, say, 32 feet off the road. So a significant building pushed back into the site to allow for a nice, beautiful design. So then as you work your way down on the building, you'll notice this receiving area. This is the 3rd floor. It's the receiving area where people come. Valet is there. There's handicap parking. There's just a general nice receiving area for your guests and for the residents as they enter into the building. So jumping to the ground plane for a second, starting on the left-hand side, this is a 20-foot service road. That service road is for access and loading. That came about by collaboration with the neighborhood, and I know when the neighborhood gets up, they will speak to this also. We initially had it further south. They said, that doesn't make sense. Push it closer, further north. So we did. We made that loading and service area further north. That did change some of the mechanical rooms that our proposal has as we worked our way through the process. Underneath this is actually a mechanical room that we relocated. So the design concept was to provide all the services on the north side, all the noises that are generated from picking up trash and everything else associated with it. All right, on the right-hand side of the building, this is a pickleball court that's on the 2nd floor. So you have the 20-foot mechanical room, and then you have the pickleball court. One of staff's concerns or feedback for us was you don't have active uses along the frontage. Well, I will tell you that is a correct statement. We did look at it. It just didn't work out the way our building is designed. However, I will submit to you that the pickleball court on the 2nd court is very active and that we will have people playing pickleball and enjoying the area. Also, there's a very nice receiving area for residents here. and that receiving area is a walkway into the building. And because the primary floor is the third floor, you actually are going to walk through this beautiful landscaped area, and you're going to go to an elevator, and that elevator is going to take you to the third floor. So very well thought out. Now, coming to the circular access drive, again, in your staff report, you will note that staff had a lot of feedback for us on the circular access drive. Let me discuss this because it's important. This is just a difference of opinion of design, and that's okay. Mr. Safdie was involved in this in the design and really spent some time thinking about what made the most sense for this site, but also, it also came about from our collaboration with the neighborhood, and let me tell you why. So one, the first thing about this circular access ramp, you're not going to see it from ground level. It is going to be completely blocked by landscaping, and we commit to that. So the landscaping will block all of the views of it here. Number two, it eliminates internal wrapping within that podium. Those first 2 floors that I talked about, it eliminates all the internal ramping, which means we have the required parking necessary. We don't have to push the podium any higher. We don't have any awkward ramps to park on. So it's a very effective use of space. The third thing is it pushes the tower element back. The code allows us to bring the tower much closer to the road, that we could potentially have requested bringing the tower element closer to the road, but we didn't. By having the podium, it actually pushes it back. The final thing, which is part of our collaborative approach, when we met with the neighborhood groups, they were all concerned about traffic on Flagler. I think they've been experiencing the new communities having gatehouses and cars backing up on Flagler. So we took that into consideration. And how could we help? We can only help for our project, but here's how we can help. We can help because we can stack a lot of cars in that circular access ramp all the way up. So when someone has a party, they're not spilling over in the Flagler. There's a lot of stacking ability within that circular access driveway. Popping off that slide. So very quickly here, this is the Flagler Drive on the left-hand side. This is the pickleball court here. This is a 20-foot wall. And my purpose of showing you this is we can put a significant amount of landscaping also to address staff's concerns. We're absolutely happy to make this a green wall so that blank wall concept won't be there. We don't think it would be seen with the amount of landscape that we're proposing, but of course we're willing to make it a blank wall. Our client was very considerate of that and certainly said that made sense. So just to kind of give you a feel of what the landscape is going to look like, on the screen in front of you is a perspective from North Flagler. This is another perspective from the sidewalk, again, computer generated. Also, it's important to note we're providing a 12-foot multi-path access or a pathway throughout the site, consistent with what the vision is for that north area. The residents are excited about having a wider pathway. That pathway will also have significant amount of shade. That's our approach. We're going to make that a comfortable walkway with shade and make sure that it's very comfortable for folks to walk on. This is the building itself. It is 360 feet of height. The building consists of 31 floors. As I indicated earlier, 2 floors are parking down here. There are townhomes, 1 on each side here that actually start on the ground floor. And then here's the building itself. Its slab-to-slab height is 11 feet. We are not requesting any additional density than what's allowed under the zoning. These are the setbacks. I'm going to spend time on this when I get to the waivers, but I want you to look down on the view. This is an aerial view of what it's going to look like. The first thing that you notice is a significant amount of landscaping, and they have engaged a world-class landscape architect to look at this project. Also, you'll note the setbacks to the tower element, 170 feet from the front, 143 feet from the back. The building itself meets the RPD requirements of 20 feet, and then we have the setback to the north to the tower element, which is 30 feet. Now, I need to let everybody know this building does get a little bit wider. As it gets taller, it gets about 8 feet wider, and it's a consistent growth of the building. It's just a neat design. And so here are the elements, and these, by the way, are measured to the balcony, a 30-foot setback from the southern property line here on the west side and 40 feet to the eastern balcony. So I'm going to walk you through access and ground level, about 4 or 5 slides. So this is, first thing we talked about, that operations on the upper left-hand side, really important element. Again, collaboratively working, we've pushed it to the north. This is the more noisier functions that occur in these type of buildings. This is an FPL vault room here, and this is access. So we definitely spent a lot of time thinking about how this would work and how we could reduce impact for our neighbors. You'll note the first level. This is you're pulling into that circular driveway. The first access point, if you're a resident, you can pull off and use this very efficient parking lot. And then as you get into the second floor, and then on the screen in front of you are the pedestrian access points, one on the north to a gated access point, one on the south to a gated access point, and then here in the middle is the entrance into the building. As I stated earlier, that entrance is going to feel very unique and special. Our client is looking at on how they're going to be able to make that a really neat materiality in that area. It is an elevator to the top. It is an elevator to the third floor. This is the second level of the site plan. You drive through. If you're on the second floor and you're a resident, you pull into a sufficient parking lot area here. And then here's your elevator core. You'll note the townhomes here are starting their 3-floor townhomes. I forgot to mention that. So this is the second floor of the townhome. There are 2 townhomes, one on each side. This is level 3, or the arrival area. You go around the roundabout, work your way through to the arrival area, and then you go to the valet area, and then this is the main entrance into the building. It's important to note on this slide, I'm not sure what you call this, but the tower itself, I use the word a onesie, but I don't think anybody will like that. But when you look at the tower element itself, it kind of looks like a little kid's clothes right here. And that's the tower element that we're proposing, and it goes up to the top. And I don't think my client appreciated that term. So we'll move on to level 4 as we move up on the podium. So the podium here, you start with level 4, and then after that, it does get a tower. So they do just build on top of each other. Each floor plate is not the same. There are different floor plates throughout. The top floor is an amenity deck. So that's the building itself. So on to the landscape. We have a significant amount of landscaping proposed on the site. On the north side against the park, we meet the code requirement. On the south side, we double that code requirement. On the west side, we are an additional double plus some on the west side. We've met all the code requirements for planting or have exceeded those planting requirements. It's important to note on the south side, we have a tremendous volume of landscape in regards to providing buffers to our neighbors to the south. So that landscape involves a row of birds of paradise all the way through, and then a tremendous volume of landscaping and trees that our landscape architect can walk you through, or I can if you have any questions. There are no waivers requested for landscaping. Materiality. We're still in the middle of design for the materiality of some of the unique features of this type of building, but our landscape architect is here and can answer any questions that you have, but there is going to be a very significant amount of landscape and hardscape that are part and parcel with this project. Again, just to show you the slide from the sidewalk from Flagler to give you an idea of the level of landscape that's being proposed. Waivers. Okay, so we have 4 waivers. I'm going to run through 3 of them very quickly, answer questions for you if you want at the end. The first waiver is a minimum acreage of RPD. That requirement is 10 acres. In the course of my career, I think there's been 1 RPD that's actually met that criteria. Our request is a waiver to allow us to have a reduced acreage for an RPD. Our site is 3.01 acres. You'll note on the bottom comparable projects and comparable sizes, and your staff recommends approval of this waiver. Waiver 2 is submerged land density calculation. The way your code works, if the land area is greater than 2 acres, we can request 100% of the density for the submerged lands. We are making that request, again, consistent with what you have done on other projects, and that's what your code allows. This site is 3.01 acres. Waiver 3. This is one I'm going to spend some time on because this is what equates to height. It's a side and rear setback request. So the side and rear setback request. Let me go to the next slide. So what you do is you take the height of the building and divide by 2. Our setback requirements are based on that. Our proposal is broken up, and the way the code works actually to the building itself. It doesn't differentiate between the tower element and the podium. I'm going to differentiate between those two because that's an important differential for the design characteristic. Number 1, the residential plan development buffer around the project is met. So we meet the RPD requirements. Now, in regards to front setback, the front setback along Flagler, we way exceed the front setback, which I believe is 25 feet. So we certainly exceed that setback from the tower element, and actually it's 20 feet, and we exceed the setback by 5 feet to the pickleball court and that 1-story mechanical room, and above that is the pickleball court. On the east side, off of the seawall, we're 50 feet to the podium, and then we're 143 feet to the tower element, a significant setback off of the water. Yes, it is a reduction in the code, but it is a fairly significant setback off of the water. North and south, and they're both the same. On the north side, we have 20 feet to the podium, and we have 30 feet to the balcony of the tower element. And that's consistent on the north and the south side. That's consistent on the north and the south side. And a number associated with that number 40 feet is to the balcony of the east side, and this number 30 is to the balcony on the west side. Let me do some comparisons, because you're going to say, Ken, you're asking for a pretty big setback reduction. And my answer is, well, you've approved a lot of towers in the area, and for redevelopment to occur, those type of setbacks have been here, and that's part of the collaboration part. But the math gets really fuzzy very quickly. So I put my pea-brain hat on and said, okay, how can I make this something that I can understand? I said, okay, I'm going to look at the 2 projects that were recently approved within the city, and I'm going to make the math really easy. I'm going to say, because I know our lot is different than the other 2 lots where it's been approved. And I said, I'm going to compare the height of the building to the lot frontage. Our building is 360 feet tall. Our lot frontage is 220 feet. So I divided that, and that equates to 1.6 feet of height per every front foot of lot. I don't want to lose anybody in the math. So 360 feet on top, 220 in the bottom equates so there is 1.6 feet per front foot of height. Then we compared it to the other approved projects. Elba, exactly the same number, less height, but a much narrower lot. Apogee, actually higher at 2 feet per front foot. So my point of showing you is just explaining on how we fit in comparable because of the differential size of our lot. Then I looked at it a different way and said, okay, well, let's compare lot size ratio, height to how big the lot is. Just another way to look at it. And so we said, okay, well, we'll take our lot, our building, which is 360 feet of height, divided by our lot, equates to 120 feet per acre. And again, I hate to drag everybody down the math, but I needed something to explain the differential in height. So then we compared it to the other 2. Elba is 136 feet per height. Again, consistent with what our proposal is. Apogee is 162 feet per acre. So just to kind of give you a frame of reference on how we got to where we are. Waiver 4 is a separation of access points, consistent with what you've approved on many projects. We are requesting 2 access points. There is 1 today. The purpose and the reason for the waiver is the drive to the north is closer than 50 feet to the park, but it's the appropriate spot for it. It provides service and loading. And then because we're asking for 2, we have to have the minimum clearance. So that waiver, we also have staff recommendation of approval. And these are the details. I'm going to click through this to keep it moving here a bit. Community outreach, an important part of every project. I give our client a lot of credit. They worked really diligently through this. In fact, even yesterday, we had a meeting with the board at Palm Beach House. We've been working very diligently on this. Not everybody coming up tonight is going to be happy, but I can tell you that we tried and we were able to reach agreements. So first thing, we've met with the Palm Beach House, the Chamber of Commerce. We spent the most time with Northwood Harbor Association. I'll let Ms. Ogburn talk about that and the support letter that we received from them. We also held meetings with nearby residents. This has been an ongoing project, and the project has changed because of this. It's dropped height. We've relocated the loading. We've done lots of different things along the way. So we have a letter from Mr. Ziff of the Chamber. We also, I'll let Ms. Ogburn get up and talk about the support from the Northwood Harbor Association. So innovative land planning, last slide, going to get done, last slide. So we have lots of different things to talk about on this project. We have an expanded 12-foot pedestrian pathway along Flagler Drive. We have significant enhanced landscaping, integrated parking structures that minimize the podium massing, external driveways and external circular access driveways, which removes those vehicles, which is an important point for our neighbors working collaboratively, four-sided architecture by a world-class architect. The next one, replacing seawall, stormwater management infrastructure, and upgraded utilities. This gets overlooked a lot. This is a big deal. Stormwater management. Do you know how that project drains today? It flows to a catch basin in the back and dumps out into the intercoastal. This new project will be brought up to today's standard. It will attenuate 2.5 inches of rain, which means it will capture 2.5 inches of rain. It will clean it, and then it will discharge it. It's the right thing to do. It's consistent with the South Florida Water Management District codes, but it's something we do in development that we don't talk about very much, but it's something to be it's an important item. We have infill redevelopment as part of it. We've internalized all of our back of house. We've got this dedicated service. We screened it. We placed it to the north. We also have, not on this list, we've agreed to, we are going to have a pretty significant amount of security within this facility. We are also going to have cameras. We've agreed that we would have cameras and we would continue to work with your police department if they so desired. Some of those cameras would be faced out at the park. We know, working with the residents, they have had concerns about the activities within the park. We are certainly happy to help. I know our client is all about doing that. That is my presentation for today. I would ask that I have the opportunity to rebut, which I brought up first, number one. Number two, we have our whole team assembled, and respectfully request your approval to City Commission. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Jean, let's start with you. Any questions of the applicant?
No questions.
Patrick?
Will. Of course I have questions. So the, I call him the samurai suit. The samurai suit laying down, you have 170 feet setback from the road, 143 feet
yes,
from the
sir.
shoreline.
I like the samurai suit.
What's the difference what's the footprint of the building between the 170 and the 143?
That's a great question. Mr. Spina's going to look that up, and then I'm going to guess, because I just don't know off the top of my head. I want to make sure we give you the exact answer. Your question is, what is this distance from here to here?
Yes.
This distance is about 550 feet, 560 feet. So 170 minus 143. Somebody help me out in the audience. We will get you that answer. But
You're saying 560 minus 170 minus 143?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. What's that?
I'd say it's like 115 if I was to guess, if my memory of the plans is correct.
Perfect. I didn't have to ask Rock. All right, so 150. Okay.
We can ask chat too.
Okay, that's it.
Sir.
Okay. Debbie, any questions? Sam?
Small detail question. You mentioned on the, go back to that slide, the samurai suit that.
Go with samurai? Okay, you got it.
Onesie, his samurai suit.
So you mentioned so you have the southern guess the southwest portion is 30 feet setback, and then the southeast portion is 40 feet. And then you mentioned, is that from the, because you mentioned the building does, it flails up as it gets taller?
Yes, sir. That is the way that it's done. It's actually at the height, at the peak. So as you go to the bottom, it's actually 8 feet further inset, but we want to make sure we tell the story.
At the first level of living, I guess, where you would find an apartment, how far would those apartments be from the side setback?
In round numbers, 38 feet.
So it actually would be, when you're actually integrating with the neighbor or with the, on the side there, it would be 38 and 48 feet roughly?
In round numbers, yes, sir. I don't know. I don't want to promise you it's 100% accurate, but very close. It grows 8 feet, and I believe it is. Actually, it is 38 feet the more I think about it.
Okay. No questions at the moment.
Okay, TK.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. The pedestrian access points, those go all the way to the water on the north and south side?
I think the answer is, well, I know the answer is yes.
Okay.
It goes to the amenity area.
And then is there an open and close time, or is that
For
pedestrian access?
Those pedestrian access are gated access for the residents only.
Okay. And then, cameras are great, but as someone who previously served on the Nuisance and Abatement Board and lives on the north end, I can tell you lighting is a better deterrent than cameras. What's the lighting situation on those in that area?
The code is pretty specific about that. We're not allowed to spill light over, a certain portion of the light over, but I think that's something we could probably work through with your staff on that.
Okay. And then the service access on the north side, that doesn't come in straight from 54th Street, correct? So if a delivery truck is coming down 54th Street, they'll have to make a right and then a left to get into the service?
That is correct, yes.
Is that enough room there to maneuver like that?
Our civil engineers in the audience, we did do a turn study to make sure that it works, and it does work.
Sure. And then what's the units numbers currently for that?
There are 72 existing units. Our proposal's 97 for an additional 25.
And that includes the 2 townhomes, so that'd be 95 in the condo and the 2 townhomes. Okay, that's significant. And the parking spots, again, I just want to make sure I have the number right.
The existing apartments, I'm sorry?
Of the proposed parking spots.
Oh, there are 207. We meet all the code.
Okay, great. You also mentioned on the sidewalk going north and south on the west side that it would be quote-unquote shaded. Is that going to be completely covered? Or is it, because I know we have a lot of oak trees on the north end that completely covers the sidewalks and then sometimes the entire road. So I just want to understand a little bit better what you meant by shaded there.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I'm not sure that's, anyway, I don't know if they did. It may have been one of the screens. There was a reference in one of the screens, I think.
So what the proposal, and I apologize, is 16 to 20 feet of green buttonwoods, and they will grow pretty significantly and provide shade.
Okay. And you said is there a dock that I see on the north end?
The dock on the aerial is actually from the park. There's a dock at the park today.
Okay, just making sure on that. And I just want to echo what you mentioned on flood protection and the water management. As someone who used to work for South Florida Water Management District, I always look at that. Flood protection, our infrastructure needs some improvement in the north end and along Flagler Drive. And I think the folks in the south end will probably agree with that. So I'm happy to see that, and I wanted to commend you and the architect and the designers for making sure that that's part of your design. That's all I have for right now.
All right, thank you. All right, let's hear from the from staff.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of this board, and the public. Luis Vicentini, Senior Planner, for the record. So the applicant has made a very adequate presentation. Therefore, I'm just going to glance it over some of the concerns that the staff has for this project. And going back again to this slide, this is actually a great slide that shows the overall development along the North Flagler Drive that's been going on for the last 10 years, and everybody's aware of the influx of the incoming of public coming to South Florida, specifically to this area of West Palm Beach, and staff has been diligently working with the Northwood Harbor Association as well as the community and the city commissioners also and the public to improve this area and make sure that responds to answers all the neighbors' questions and concerns associated to the developments that are coming to this, this corridor along the North Flagler. So yes, the applicant is correct. We have some concerns regarding waiver number 3 and also the lack of active use along the frontage of North Flagler Drive. And this is in line to the NOFOD, North Flagler Overlay District study that we've been conducting with the community. As you are aware of, last night the City Commission unanimously approved the NOFOD Overlay District, making some limitations in regards to the height, setbacks, buffering, massing, FAR, and so on and so forth. So as you notice, we have no objections with waivers number 1, 2, and 4. Number 1 in regards to the minimum acreage. Number 2 regarding to the minimum area of the submerged lands. And number 4 in regards to the access points for the minimum separation distance. However, number 3 is a big concern for us, not only because of the upcoming development that's being passed yesterday, which doesn't impact, they came in before this study was proposed and that's been ongoing. However, they were aware of the status that we're bringing this forth to the study, and we have many conversations with the applicant in regards to the height of the building and how it would impact the setbacks. Yes, in the past developments, we have approved developments that has a substantial requirements for setback reductions on north, south, and rear of the property, and some other developments also in the frontage of the property. Currently, this property, it meets the front setback, which is 25 feet, and that's for the future proposed developments that are coming with the NOFOD. However, the north and south has specific concerns because not only the amount of the reduction is asking, specifically because of the single-family residences located to the south, and also adjacent to the property along North Flagler Drive, you have the historic Northwood. So that has to be taken into consideration when you come in to verify whether the setbacks are in line with what is existing in the neighborhood. So the applicant is actually requesting a 367-foot height, NAVIT, North American Vertical Dated. It's not 360, just for the record. Let me just go to the next one. Yes, that's what it shows on the... So we bring this chart that we created for the residential development comparison in regards to the other properties. So in the past, during this last year, we have done a research in regards to all the existing and the proposed and the approved building developments along the North Flagler corridor. And it came up to the conclusion, out of the 8 buildings that are existing there and approved, the 5400 comes in second as the highest one, with the 367 foot. It only is behind the Marina Village with 399. However, Marina Village is 19 acres of land and has a cluster of several buildings in different heights. Yes, the proposal is over 3 acres of land, and keep that in mind, that's actually 2.44 acres of land of upland and ½ acres of submerged land that they're actually requesting on waiver number 4. But yes, it is a large site, but nonetheless, the request is reaching the highest points of the proposed massing FAR also, 2.98 if I'm correctly. So yes, the FAR is reaching the maximum with 97 units, and the maximum height of 367 plus 20 of mechanical room, which reaches out to 387 feet in height of total. So it comes in second place. We're not against the project itself, but I think it is mindful for the applicant to understand that it needs to work with the city for these different concerns that we have brought before to the applicant. And yes, they have reduced some of the waivers. They actually minimized one of the waivers, but there hasn't been any change along the frontage. The frontage has not been activated. The height, they actually brought the height lower, I believe, 12 feet? 40 feet, yes. So they were going way above the actual height that they're proposing right now. But it's still 367 foot in height. The proposal, just for the record, it's not a requirement, but the proposal is limiting the height to 300 feet max, just so in comparison, okay? And also, moving forward with the next concerns that we have in regards to the frontage of the proposed development, staff has some specific concerns associated to the lack of active uses along the frontage at the ground floor. So if you notice, unfortunately I didn't bring the other PowerPoint slide here, but he showed some, basically all the back of the house is being placed at the frontage of the house, at the frontage of the building. So you have mechanical room, FPL, back of the house, all facing North Flagler Drive, and there's no activation whatsoever for the people to use that. There's no gym, there's no residential units proposed to interact and connect that, the ground floor with the North Flagler Drive, and where is the connection with the adjacent properties? So that's a question mark also. Also, the vehicular ramp, although the applicant states that is an architectural element and brings the outside from the interior of the building to the front, it also creates a major issue regarding noise, odors, creates dust, creates an eyesore. And also, where is the activation of that ramp? There's going to be a lot of noise with those cars going up and down, specifically because of the valet parking also that's located on the third floor. So all the active use starts happening at the third floor only. There's no activation on the ground floor, other than the pedestrians accessing the building lobby, not even the lobby, the pedestrian area accessing the entering area for the residents, going to the elevator to access the third floor, which that's where the main lobby is located. And also you have a blank wall effect, as you can see on that top figure there. So there's no activation whatsoever. And yes, a green wall might be interesting, but it's not activating the frontage whatsoever. One more thing also that I would like to highlight. It is interesting that there has been a major activation at the rear of the property, fronting the body of the water. As you notice in one of his renderings, it shows like a lot of activity going on along the frontage of the water, but no activation along the North Flagler corridor. So I believe the applicant can work better with staff in order to activate that frontage. I think the city deserves that, so does the neighborhood. Therefore, staff's finding there's some lack on the compliance with the city development code standards, pattern standards, also the harmonious and effective organization standards, screening, buffering, enhancement of the residential privacy standards, for future development standards on the bottom, the minimum setbacks as already highlighted, and they're okay with the submerged lands. So therefore, the staff's recommendation is denial of the rezoning and the waivers according to section 9432 alpha, 9432C, and 94309F. However, if the board moves with a recommendation of approval, staff recommends for the record that the following change should be incorporated into the project. Would you like me to read this, or is that okay for the record? As is? Sounds good. All right. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of staff? Let me start, Will, with you. Let's get yours out of the way.
Okay, so So it's 97 units, correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. And so when you look at the circular driveway in the front of the building, when I saw it, it reminded me a little bit of the Guggenheim Museum and provided some sort of architectural element to the front of the building. But you guys disagree with that? You think?
And I'm glad that you brought this forth regarding the Guggenheim Museum. As an architect and engineer also, I relate to that. It's a very interesting feature. However, the feature regarding the Guggenheim Museum is the entire massing of the building that functions with a certain purpose. This purpose in this case here is you're bringing basically the infrastructure of a structure that is usually enclosed within the building. And it works as a circulation for the vehicular circulation for the building. It lacks an aesthetical component and an architectural component for that portion. And additionally, they are heavily landscaping that area to mask that infrastructure for a reason, for a purpose, correct? However, at the same time, creates issues during the night. For example, you may have homeless that can actually decide to stay under the ramp, or create issues in niches within that area that can be a problem in the future. So staff believes that they can actually work better in a way that, in a sense, or that they can either mask that infrastructure with some elements other than landscape that can actually answer staff's concerns about the structure, or even internalize that in order to better create this the connection between the front of the building, active uses, and pedestrians along the frontage. There's no connection. We don't see that going on in this project, at least in the frontage. The vertical of the building, we agree. We don't agree the height. We believe that the height is exceeding the maximum height that we propose. But our main concern is the active frontage.
I'm so sorry, I missed the last words you said. Your main concern
Our
is?
main concern is the lack of active use at the frontage. Okay. Non-commercial, I want to make it very clear, non-commercial.
Okay, all right.
So, but in this particular property, the building to the north is the Palm Beach house, correct?
That is correct, sir.
And so there's a fair distance between this property and the Palm Beach house. So in terms of walkability, what's really happening? When you look further south, right, you wanted to tie that into what's happening to Rybovich and create a walkway. You have the park to the south of them. So I'm just trying to understand why is the activation of that area so important, given sort of the unique positioning of this building in between a park, single-family residences of 2 blocks, and then a fair distance to Palm Beach house?
So as you notice, we have the city park at the north and residential single families at the south. By activating the frontage, you create a connection between the north and south, and you create a continuity. Without that, it lacks that activation on this property. In addition, we don't see that happening in the frontage. There is no communication. It's basically a blank wall with no interaction with the public, with pedestrians, and with the adjacent single-family residences also that are part of the old Northwood district, the historic Northwood district. We believe that the applicant has a great opportunity here to activate that with either bringing a gym or bringing a unit from the development, or either a paseo that can be created along that area. A paseo is like how can I say that? Paseo is like, it's an activation with people that pedestrians can actually have can interact with the frontage, have it like, for example, benches that they can sit, read a book, or create an interaction, a dialogue with the frontage along that north-south pedestrian sidewalk, and that's what it's lacking.
Okay.
That's what staff believes.
And when you talk about a gym, you're talking about the building's gym. You're not talking about.
That is correct. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, the building gym, correct. Which there's no activation. Everything that's going on in the ground floor right now is a function that is usually a function on the back of the house. Though I understand the FPL requested the applicant to place an FPL area close to the furnace so they can have access to it. Totally understanding. However, the south portion of the building can definitely be activated. That blank wall can definitely go away. It can be brought forth a gym or a residential or even a villa, anything other than a blank wall with a generator room, a Mac room that has no connectivity whatsoever with the frontage or with the pedestrian sidewalk along the North Flagler Drive.
Okay. All right, that's for now. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I don't know about the Guggenheim Museum. It reminds me a little bit more of going to find my seat at Dolphin Stadium. But I would say, my question to staff, remind us, just for our edification, in comparing what is currently on the books versus what is soon to change.
Absolutely.
The percentage of active use that would be required along this frontage.
There's no percentage. I'll defer to the staff.
The proposed Flagler overlay has active use requirements along the frontage. Is depending on the size of the lot, it will require 80 or 60% of the buildable lot frontage to be activated. And just to elaborate a little bit of the concept of the activation along the frontage, I think if you step back and look at the whole area in perspective, the idea is that we have a high-rise building that is substantially different in scale to the single-family neighborhood that is on the west. So we are seeing the activation along on the Flagler frontage on the first floors as that relationship that will basically transition from the high-rise into the single-family. Is how do you relate to the neighbors to the west? So when, and again, you pull back yourself, it's like it's the entire street. It's not just this particular property, but if we have one development after another one that has a high rise closer to the water, but has a blank wall facing Flagler, the context will substantially change. So what we're looking is basically mirroring or transitioning this high rise that is a completely different typology to the single family that is on the west. And the only way that we have is to provide a more friendly face of these buildings facing the neighborhood. So when you walk on the sidewalk, you have something next to you, not just a blank wall. They are proposing landscape, and that is good, but at some point, landscape is not enough. When you start adding property after property that do not have that activation, do not have that relationship, the public realm starts to erode. So it's more a context setting, how these new buildings are gonna work together with the single-family neighborhood on the west. That's why we are trying to put some type of treatment, some type of relationship. And we have talked with the developers. The idea will be having residential buildings, so it mirrors with the residential buildings that are across the street. The response from the developers has been like, they don't like that because the density limitations of the district, they only have 32 dwelling units per acre, so they prefer those units to be in the high rise, they have higher value or facing the water. So that's kind of understood. So our next fallback option is, can we put something in there that provides some better frontage facing Flagler? And that's why we're talking about maybe it's the management office, maybe it's a better pedestrian entrance, so it's not just a simple sidewalk that goes through the garage to the main lobby. It's just something that provides a better connection with the neighborhood and gives kind of a good relationship. That's kind of the intent of it.
So to summarize, there's no current requirement, but the overlay zoning would mandate 60% active use liner?
The overlay is proposed on it. So right now, the MF32 doesn't
There's nothing
have.
current. Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, if you have, let's say, imagine this was a single family zoning. If you build a house in there, you will not build a house that have a blank wall facing the frontage, right? So it's kind of a similar concept. How do we make these high rise that is a different typology mirror and transition towards the single family neighborhood?
Thank you.
Gene.
So the city would be amenable to some form of garden scene or gazebo or something that would be actively used. I don't see them putting a gym there because maybe they want the gym to have a view or be on an upper level. But
I don't think a gazebo in there will make any difference. I mean, they have some landscape on that 25 feet setback, and they are proposing a green wall. So if no active use is gonna be proposed in there, that probably is what it
so
is.
are there more specific examples other than a gym? I don't think a gym is practical.
That's what, I mean, like, it could be. I mean, like, that's what we're talking about. Maybe it's the management offices, maybe. We don't know what other amenities they could offer. Maybe it's just a better lobby entrance, so they create a better entrance for pedestrian. Maybe it's, we don't know exactly. They know their program, and they could figure out something. We're just suggesting as a relationship to the neighborhood, it should have something better than just a blank wall.
That exact question.
Okay. And this is, Patrick, did you have any comments on the setback? Would like
Yeah,
to hear your thoughts.
I was going to leave those for later, but I mean, if you're asking me, I don't find any issues with the height or setbacks on this application.
Thank you. Are you done? Debbie, any questions?
I just wanted a little bit more clarification on the blank building you talked about. And I thought you said that additional landscape was just not the answer to it. And I heard you talk about the gym, and the gym may not be appropriate. So what else is there? What I figure it's design and aesthetics when you look at it.
Not only aesthetics, but it goes also the articulation of the frontage with different types of use. Maybe they can articulate in a way that connects the building with the pedestrian sidewalk by incorporating or introducing a different type of use there. Maybe they can actually bring the lobby down the ground floor, or maybe they can actually redesign the layout, the access way to the upper floors, or even bring an additional villa or either additional unit that can be a guest unit down the ground floor. I mean, they can be creative in different ways. They can activate that frontage other than a blank wall.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sam, any questions?
So it seems like the active use is what I've heard a lot as kind of the main pushback here. Unless I'm missing something, in an urban neighborhood, something more along the lines of what we see downtown, I can understand the active use being a very crucial component because the building sits up right on the street. With the layout of this building, and certainly within the residential neighborhood where the building is set back very far from the street, I imagine if there were active uses such as a gym, or a lobby, it would become, very cumbersome if you're going to the gym and it's a very long distance from where your apartment is all the way to the west side near Flagler. Not to mention, in a building with 97 units, I doubt that there's too much use of the gym. I mean, they typically have small gyms and people use it as a, once in a blue moon, but I don't think it's a public benefit to have a gym that's barely used kind of on the street as as some sort of a requirement in any way, because the public benefit, I don't see how there's a public benefit to that, given that the building is set back so far off the street. I do feel, based on what we, what we saw and what we've seen in previous kind of presentations, that there could be an opportunity for a decorative component to the spiral drive aisle, if that's a necessary component of the parking area. There could be a good opportunity for some really nice decorative component there, and that doesn't change the functionality of what's there, but would possibly be a much greater visual component for the street, people walking by, that would interact with the neighborhood. I've been in this part of the city many times, and it's I wouldn't say it's heavily trafficked, but it is trafficked up and down Flagler. I personally, and maybe I'm wrong, but really nice landscaping, really nice lighting, decorative features on the exterior of the building are I think appealing if you're walking street level, certainly if you're driving street level, and that could be a good compromise to be able to add art elements and decorative elements and lighting and landscaping elements versus, I don't see if the tower is 170 feet, is that right? It's 170 feet off Flagler? 150?
170.
170?
Yes, from the Flagler.
If a tower is being set back 170 feet off the street, which could be looked at as a positive thing because it is a tall building set off the
Absolutely.
street.
Yes.
To have amenities for the building so far off where the building is, that might not be practical. For residents of the building, it'd almost be just a waste of space. And
We may be inclined to that idea. Yes, we can further discuss with the applicant to incorporate those ideas on the plan. Absolutely.
I mean, I think that the architecture itself looks, there's a world-class architecture involved, and, there could be a good opportunity to not only take the world-class architecture of a building, but to landscape and to streetscape the area with the same level of decorative art, decorative cladding, something that would really be a positive looking feature to the neighborhood. That could be a good opportunity for everybody over here.
Yeah, an art public space will be an interesting feature to be added to the frontage for sure. Yes, that is a great way actually to activate the frontage
So
by bringing on art, for sure.
besides the active use and the drive aisle, is there any major pushback?
Oh, the height also. It will introduce a massing and a height that is not pleasant to the area. As we previously stated, we have been conducting research, and we're proposing to cap the height to up to 300 feet. So the application is proposed to 367 plus 20 with the mechanical elevator structure, with a total of 387-foot height. Bringing the tower a little lower, that'll be more inclining to our proposed. I'm not sure if the applicant is interested in doing that. He's being very adamant in maintaining that height. But yes, that's our posture, is to bring the tower lower to at least bring closer to the future standards that we're proposing.
TK, any questions?
Okay. No other questions.
Okay. TK, any questions?
Thank you, and thank you to staff for working so diligently on this. Real quick question. So the pickleball court, is that on floor 3, or is that on?
So it is in between, yeah. So it's actually on the second floor. Well, it's actually on the third floor. Second floor?
Second
Ground floor, first floor, second floor, yes.
So you wouldn't classify that as an active use, but
It is an active use for the users within the building,
sure.
not connecting the outside.
Sure. And I just want to respectfully, point out the North Flagler Overlay District does not apply to this application, right?
I'm sorry,
The Overlay District?
not in this case, no.
Does not apply to
They
this.
came in before, correct.
Sure.
So they're still within the MF32 requirements.
Of course. And, I just wanted to point out, again, respectfully, we talked about the circular driveway going up and potentially, you said homeless sleeping under there, but then you mentioned about potentially putting in like a park with benches on the other side, which is where I think if anyone was going to do that, it would be there. And so respectfully, I have to point out that inconsistency. I think there could be a better lobby entrance.
Yes.
I think that's something that could be looked at, and I think would be fair to discuss. But I would, just point out the fact that the overlay district does not apply here, and that given the setback, I agree with Sam's comments on the active use. I don't see it. To me, it's not that big of an issue, especially when you have a park on the north side and essentially parking the homes to the south. And the folks who would be closest to this is the Northwood Harbor residents who are in support of this. So,
Correct.
So I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one quick question. If you had to prioritize, I know all these issues you raised are important to the city. If you could choose one, would you change the height or would you change the absence of an active use?
Oh,
If
boy.
you could pick one.
Would you mind speaking? 1 second, please?
Are you asking for a lifeline?
Yeah.
I'm not promising
That's a
either.
very interesting question.
Yeah.
I personally will pick the active use.
Okay.
Because the height, the building is recessed back closer to Flagler. The relationship is a tall building, but what happens on the ground floor is what you perceive on the daily basis. I think the relationship with the neighborhood will be more important from my perspective.
Understood. All right. Thank you. All right. I think at this point, we want to hear from the public. I will say that I have received, 3 cards from people who want to speak and several cards of people who asked me to read their comments to the record. Is that the one you're calling? Is that to come forward to speak, or is that to read? Okay, give it to the clerk kindly. If anyone wishes to speak and has not submitted a card, please do so now. I'm going to call the people who have so far filled out a card. One is, do we have another one? Thank you. 2 more, okay. I have 5 altogether. So we have 2 podiums. I'll ask 2 to come to this one and 2 to come to that one. Michael Zeff over here. Linda Gross over here. On this podium, Keith Wilmering, Jeff Edelson, let's see here. And then Steve Wozak at this podium. Sir, if you could go ahead, state your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Michael Zeff. I'm the president and CEO of the Chamber of Commerce of the Palm Beaches. The project before you this evening was reviewed by both our chamber and our Government Affairs Committee thoroughly, and both voted to unanimously approve this project, and we encourage you to approve it as well.
Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Steve Wozak. I'm a resident in Palm Beach House. I do have a couple of questions. I respectfully disagree with Great Gulf's assessment. It's really more than just an opinion of why the building has to be recessed 170 feet when they talked about traffic backing up into Flagler Drive. Well, I've lived here for 3 years at the Palm Beach House. I've never seen that happen except one time that I remember at the Palm Beach House. So to think that 30 or 40 cars would be backed up or you'd need that much of a runway is unfounded. There was no traffic data, no accident reports, no police reports that indicated there were any kind of problems with that traffic. So I could have to classify that as nothing more than an opinion. I also want to know why the Great Gulf has made those mathematical equations. They selected 3 buildings or 4 other buildings, and not the buildings that were in the proximity of the Great Gulf, the Placido Mar and the Palm Beach House. I mean, why those 2 were left out seems like a glaring impossibility. And also, there's a very salient point, and I've never heard anybody in meetings and with the Northwood Association and with the builders, no one ever talks about the water supply to these new buildings and the sewer runoff. I mean, who's going to pay for that? I mean, we're talking about 90, I don't know how many units, he said 97 units. They're going to be added with all that water and the sewer runoff. Does Great Gulf have to pay to put the bigger pipes in, better pipes in the streets? Now, I have some empirical data that at the last meeting, someone said that he was investigating this, and he found out that these pipes in this area are 50 years old already. So there's no telling what could happen with the additional houses, not only with the Great Gulf, but all the way down Flagler Drive. No one is addressing that, or I just missed the memo. I'm not really quite sure what happened there. And lastly, I was told that no one owns the view. I agree. No one owns the view. But to me, it seems that the 170-foot setback, which would be most unusual for that whole Flagler Drive, offers the people, they're not even people, they're just empty units now, a chance to get a better view as opposed to the people who have lived in the Palm Beach House for 50 years. It's been there 50 years, so there's hundreds, thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of man-years invested in life there, not untold amount of taxes that they paid, and the lives that they built there. So, yeah, no one owns the view, but I have to think that we have at least a little bit of a superior right to that view since we've been there for a long time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments.
Okay.
All right. Who else did I call who wishes to be heard? Come forward. State your name.
Yes, Jeff Edelson. Thank you to the commission for allowing me to speak and hear me out. I appreciate that the neighborhood is changing. It's getting more upscale, certainly growing. I'm disappointed, though, however, that it's being done at the detriment of owners and residents, as Steve had previously mentioned, who have been residing at the Palm Beach House. I am a resident of the Palm Beach House for as many years as we have, especially when it can easily be prevented. In addition, this could be causing detriment to the environment as well as the community. I refer to the small distance, mostly, from to the road, where the building itself is located. Were the building to be closer to the road, this would solve some concerns that you all have, as well as I have. It would, A, bring the building back, allow the views of all the residents to be taken care of. It would also potentially prevent runoff and debris, dust from affecting the manatee population, which resides outside of the where the construction is taking place in the building is. In addition, the noise, it's a 3-year project, as you probably are aware. This will be a lot of noise, a lot of dust, a lot of debris. And if it were moved back again to the road, this would reduce the noise because of the echoing that takes place in our area. That echoing will also radiate out into the community, causing it even more discomfort, not just for our residents, but for the community's residents as well. Since the commission is doing variations and rezoning, I realize that potentially it might take rezoning to allow the building to be closer to the road. I also realize that the Guggenheim is sitting back there. Potentially that can be moved as well. The designers do a wonderful job of designing. Perhaps that can also be arranged somehow in the works. One of my neighbors also asked me to mention that if and when construction does start, the park next door, Curry Park, not Curry, the park right next door to the building, could become a safety issue, both with crime that would be going on there, as well as the debris for any kids that may play there. So if it is to be remaining open, hopefully that will also be paid attention to as well. Thank you again for hearing me out.
Appreciate it.
Good evening. I'm Angela Ogburn, a resident of Northwood Harbor Community and president of Northwood Harbor Association. I'm here tonight speaking on behalf of our neighborhood association. Thank you for the opportunity, board members, to allow us to share our comments regarding the proposed project before you tonight. When we meet with any developer, we make it clear that we welcome projects that are thoughtful and respectful of our community's charm. At the same time, we do not support developments of a scale or design that would diminish the character of the surrounding community. Shortly after acquiring the 5400 North Flagler property, Great Gulf reached out to our board. Since then, they have consistently engaged with our board, the neighborhood association, and the broader community. Over the past year, they have hosted multiple community meetings to present their proposal, while Northwood Harbor shared updates with the broader community. On multiple occasions, our concerns were not only heard, but addressed. This project does not fall under the Flagler overlay. Because of that, Great Gulf is not required to provide any funds for our community. However, based on results from multiple surveys of both Northwood Harbor residents and non-members, we believe Great Gulf's proposal is more closely aligned with Northwood Harbor's character and streetscape preferences. They have made meaningful efforts to listen, respond, and adapt to their design to address our concerns. Their design features a front entrance framed by green foliage, creating a more appealing and pedestrian-friendly streetscape. It also provides a substantial setback from the walkable view, with only a few stories of the garage visible at street level. For these reasons and others, our neighborhood association supports the project on behalf of the residents we represent. We also recognize that our support may secure limited time incentive funds that could directly benefit the community, an opportunity we take seriously. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to be heard? Come forward, sir. Is there anyone else first before we hear from him who wishes to be heard? All right, you'll be the last speaker. Go ahead.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jason. I'm a local architect and investor and contractor in the area. I actually wanted to commend this project because it's actually really nice to see an architect, the landscape, also for the building, address the street edge. I know staff has their concerns about the way it touches and its activation, but I actually think they did a really nice job. And I do agree that a lot of times landscaping, lighting, decorative elements, those are excellent ways to address the street edge. And you can see that they actually took the time to consider those. Something that I notice a lot, especially with developers and other investors in the area, they try to come up with plans to do something nice, but what they're doing is actually just trying to save money and do the bare minimum. And it's actually really frustrating to see. As opposed to the architects who presented this project, if you look at the landscape plan, it's actually a really elegant plan. And you can see that they even took it further, not by doing the minimum standards, but by trying to push to engage the street edge, but also the activation within the building itself. I think in terms of staff coming against the height of the building and also in regards to the activation of the front edge, I'm kind of in agreement with the board. I think when it comes to a gym or certain amenities, it'd be really difficult to put it on the front side of the building. But if you do use activation of landscaping, lighting, elements as you're walking by, thinking about the shade and the coverage when somebody's walking their dog, I think they did a really nice job. So I just wanted to commend them on that.
Thank you. All right, I have a few cards to read in. Macy Murphy says, I support the building at 5400 North Flagler. Elizabeth Prokowski says, I am in favor of the project at 5400 Great Gulf. Estella Parada says, excited to see the new developments come to the north end. We need to improve the neighborhood. New construction will also help economic mobility, which is very much needed. Camila Solanas says, developing this new project, it would give a new air with the impressive design, and it would improve the neighborhood, improving the property values, also developing the city, and help me here, increase the economy of West Palm Beach. I'll end with that thought. Okay, and this last one's going to be challenging as well, from Abraham Segudu. West Palm Beach needs more developments as the 5400 North Flagler. The city is facing something growing new community, and it should be ready for the future. Okay. And something about a high-profile company, this is the right move to do. All right. Anyone else have any comments? And then we will allow a very brief, and then we'll bring it back to the board for discussion.
Super
I think we're about
fast.
to lose someone, a board member, and I don't want to do that. Right, TK? We only have you for a few more minutes.
Less than a minute. I'm just going to.
No, my flight was delayed, so I'm here. You
All
have,
right,
you
good,
have
excellent.
some
All
more
right,
time
but
with me.
You shouldn't have said that to him. You're going to give him a false encouragement.
Here we go.
You got 3 minutes.
You're stuck with me a little bit longer.
But you didn't hear that. Ken, go ahead.
Give me 1 second before you push the button. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm just going to jump right to, I want to address the residents of Palm Beach House, because change is a big deal, and I need to address that. And then also, I want to talk a little bit about the pedestrian pathway, very quickly. So first thing, in regards to the Palm Beach House, let me go ahead and make this a bigger slide. In regards to the Palm Beach House, first thing, important to note, 310 feet of separation. There is no doubt that they are going to lose some of their view looking due south over to Mira-Lago, which is what some of the residents said. No doubt about that. I'm going to show you the percentage that are impacted. But in the bottom right-hand corner, if we applied the overlay, we had our architect do a massing program because the discussion of the overlay came out. It's actually, the building is 300 feet of height, exact same height, actually 20 feet higher than this building, and it would impact their view corridor. So let me walk you through quickly what the degree is. Identified in the screen in front of you is the line of sight from from Palm Beach House. Currently, because of Placido Mar, 10% of their view corridor due south is blocked. On the west side, on the left side, is the blue area. That's the additional view corridor that would be blocked by our project. But they are not losing any of their views to the intercoastal. And as some of the board members or some of the folks told me, they would lose their view due south to Mira-Lago. And again, I just want to put on the screen what that would look like. Also, just for a frame of reference, we did do some studies. Here we are with a camera sitting at 1605. Here's what the view would look like with an overlay, a massing study, if you constructed that building consistent with the height. And then this is our proposal. We believe that our proposal is better than what potentially could be built in the overlay. And with that, I'd like to address one other item, which was that multi-use path and how so sitting here for a landscape architect, of course, we were having a lot of fun, and we came up with some ideas where we could create seating areas. We can certainly activate that multiple use pathway. Also, it's important to note the park to the north, the landscape is incorporated on purpose. We've incorporated the landscape to the park to the north, so we're certainly willing to continue to work with staff on that. Thank you.
All right, we're going to bring it back to the board, and I'll start with you, TK. I just want to hear people's comments, and then we'll go for a vote. TK, you can begin.
I was just curious on a point on infrastructure was made, on the water infrastructure, the 50-year-old pipes. I just wanted.
Do you want to address that real quick, Ken?
Yeah, thank you.
So are you going to overload our infrastructure?
No, the answer to that is no. We have a capacity letter, number one. Number two, our engineers here, and they could talk about all the tests that they did. I don't know those off the top of my head. But what I do know is existing today, our 72 units, our increase is 25 units from where it is today. Also, recognizing who's going to be living in there. Actually, I think functionally, there'll probably be less demands than what is there today.
That was my point. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, so TK, you have the floor. Your thoughts as we work our way down.
No, I thought the presentation was very well done. I appreciate the community outreach to the closest neighbors and to all the neighbors. So kudos to you. I do commend the staff as well for working with them so closely and the changes that have been made and the back and forth. It's never easy, but I think that the proposal that we have today is a thoughtful, fitting, beautiful building, and I think it really would enhance the neighborhood, and the height is important, but I'm okay with it, and I understand that there's also a fiduciary responsibility of our board, so I would be in favor, so thank you.
All right, Sam.
So I also feel that the presentation was very thoughtful, and I appreciate the fact that the applicant did assemble a lot of local architects, engineers, to help not only, do the good work that they do in the city, but also to navigate some of the local customs, thoughts, the neighborhood nuances that might not be so apparent with an architect. Moshe was the name, the Safdie, that may not, be as familiar. So I think that was very, very smart. I did hear from, do I hear that correctly, that there was a financial incentive to the neighborhood association for some of the infrastructure? I thought that's what the neighborhood association mentioned, but.
Yeah, no, let's not address it. This is our time for evidence takings over.
But I think
This is time to express
if an
your
effort
views.
was made to offer infrastructure improvements that would be beneficial to the neighborhood outside of what is actually required, I think it's certainly a positive thing to work with the neighborhood in that way. Even though it might be a requirement of the overlay and they're not part of the overlay, I think that would be a good, certainly a good offering that would make, good neighbors to the neighborhood association. I think overall, the project fits with other projects in the neighborhood. I think they've hit on a lot of items. I think that the items that the city had pushback on, which are really it seemed the active uses. I think there's ways to better have active use integration with the street, being that the building is set very far back. I'm not sure that's a practical application when you're dealing with high rises that are not in such an urban neighborhood. So I think that's a good opportunity to work with staff on something that not only fits for the applicant, but would be a really big bonus to the neighborhood to have something beautiful to look at, both in landscaping and architectural design features. I imagine they wouldn't want it to be a blank wall, as I heard before. I think that they would want it to be as beautiful, more beautiful than even what the neighborhood might be expecting. So those are my thoughts on everything.
Debbie.
Okay, I would like to commend the applicant as well. I thought it was a very well-researched, put together presentation. And I like the fact that you worked so well with the neighborhood associations from the neighboring residents, as well as how well you work with the staff. The active use area, I'm sure that can be worked out. And I think that was the pushback from staff. But as indicated, something can be done and probably will be done. I had a question mark, I made a question mark earlier, I didn't bring it up, about the 50-year pipes, the infrastructure. But it's good to hear that there is some possibility of working with the residents to put something else in that will be, well, something with the fundraising to go with that. But I do like the project. I like the fact that the setback with the tower, and it's not so close to the sidewalk. But I think this is going to be an added, it's going to be an added attraction to what exists there already. And whatever loss of sight or view, I think is going to be minimized by the excellent design and the beauty of this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie.
Yeah, so I'd just echo what the other board members have already said about the design of the building. I do like its features. I like that it's slender and goes up to the top. At the end of the day, it's 97 units. And given the price point that it's going to be at, I'd probably say it'll be active 6 months out of the year, right? So I don't really see a large impact in terms of traffic and other things that are going on. As far as the age of the infrastructure, I know you guys are going to have to do what you need to do to get to the city tie-ins. So, those will all be upgraded. And, we recently voted on some big changes that are going to be happening up there. And with those new house constructions that are coming, I think the system is going to wind up getting upgraded naturally through the process of development. So I'm not really worried about that. What I would like to commend you guys on is, you've heard us, right, over the past couple of years, and that is that you engage the neighborhood early, you engage them often. You had a series of meetings with people who were in favor of the project and not in favor of the project, and at least were able to come to some sort of design consensus that truly took in the neighborhood's considerations and what they wanted. And that's really what we want from developments that are coming into the city, to engage the neighborhood and not to just make it from, well, this is what the developer thinks is the highest and best use of the property. So I definitely appreciate that. So good job, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
Yeah, so I want to echo some of those comments. This is a stunningly beautiful project. It will be a tremendous addition to the Northwood neighborhood, or the North Harbor neighborhood. But I do, just for the edification and benefit of my colleagues here on the board, we're talking a lot about this concept of active use, and I just want people to understand where it comes from and why it is an important component in American urbanism. It all goes back to Jane Jacobs, The Death and Life of Great American Cities, and she wrote about the streets of New York and how the vitality of those streets is essentially given by the concept of eyes on the street, and that there's an activation of that liner of how people are inhabiting the lower floors of the building, and they're in interaction with the street level constantly and physically seeing it. I think while this is a stunningly beautiful project, the elevation in front of me facing the street is not interacted with in any way by either the people living there or the neighborhood. So while I don't have any issues with the waivers that are requested, the setbacks, any of the technical components of this application, and I realize that legally we cannot comply the applicant to meet the requirements of the pending overlay, but I do think there's a better solution to the west frontage of the building and how it activates the public and also the occupants of the building. So I think there's a way to study that, and you mentioned the client, they did La Clara. I think another beautiful addition to our community, a great successful something to look to in this case is the greenway that was in front of that building. And that's now become part of an interconnected, soon to be interconnected long linear park that I think is a tremendous addition and gift to the city. If we could think about the space in that way, activating it in that sense, in a similar, not necessarily bringing program of the building down, because like what everyone else has said here, that would be problematic. No one's going to walk 300 feet to one end of the building to do whatever activity. But I do think there's a better solution other than just a blank wall and some trees.
Thank you. Gene.
So my comments are also about the wall. I think the director mentioned, if there were a single family house going there, they wouldn't just have a blank canvas. And so, maybe consider a water feature, some sort of waterfall. I don't know, something that makes it more appealing, because at some point you will have the public see past and beyond the landscaping. So I think that might be important. And then as far as a circular driveway, maybe consider some sort of vinage or something like that. I think that would be important. But I don't have any objection with any other part of the project. But I think they could be a little bit more creative with the active use.
All right, thank you. I'd like to add my own thoughts. I first want to commend staff. You did exactly what we need you to do, which is to remind us of these interests that are important to the city. I think you expressed yourselves very well, gave us a lot to think about, and I do appreciate it. I hope you'll continue to do that. Most of the time, we're going to be in full agreement, and even when we're not, I want you to know how much we appreciate your input. It means a lot to me, at least. Secondly, I completely agree with my colleague, Pat. I think you've got so many creative, bright people. You can do better. with respect to this active use thing. I mean, I think you're gonna leave here with our support, but I hope you'll also leave us with our wish that you can continue to engage this city. There's so many creative solutions that your incredible staff, I know, can come up with. So, not just that, but keep working on it though, because I think you're gonna have a good partner with the staff. Otherwise, I love this project, but I take to heart what I heard from the staff, I really do, and I am hopeful you guys can come up with something that we can all get behind. Okay, the motion is going to be a complicated one. Our legal counsel has advised me. Give me a note saying, don't screw this one up. So whoever wishes to make the motion, I think Sam will advise us. So Sam, are you ready to make the motion?
Sure.
All right, so help Will the right way we need to do this.
So I'm going to read the recommendation of approval, and then I'm going to skip down to the modification, correct?
Yes, I would suggest that we entertain a motion on the rezoning initially.
Okay.
We'll do multiple votes
Each
then?
waiver individually.
Okay.
As
So
to
can
waiver
you guys
number,
bring up the waiver, the screen with the waivers, staff?
as to waiver number 1, we are required to make a specific finding as to which condition the motion is based upon.
Is there a recommendation from the applicant as to which one of those you think is the strongest?
I believe staff in its report has found that particular circumstances justifies a reduction, if I'm not incorrect.
But I thought staff was not recommending it, so I didn't know whether or not.
Well, they're recommending 1, 2, and 4.
Okay.
Yes.
They were not recommending 3.
So forgive me, Sam, are you suggesting multiple votes, or are you suggesting one vote, but setting forth all these? What's your recommendation?
I'm
to it?
suggesting a vote on each
Okay,
waiver.
so we're going to do each one. Okay. So we do the initial vote on the rezoning, and then a vote on the individual waivers. What's your recommendation?
Angela?
Do you understand it? Well, you're the one who has to make the motion, so if you
Oh, no, she's looking
Remember,
at me.
Chair, Angela Van, the only waiver that needs a motion is the waiver for the PD square footage. Remember, that needs the actual separate motion and waiver, motion approval to commission separate than the other 3 waivers. Where the code is written for the waiver for the PD of the acreage, total acreage.
Are you okay with that, Sam?
Well, if there's consensus, the question is if you might approve some and you might disapprove some, and you won't know that unless
I'm
you do the
feeling
minutes.
there's consensus. I think we're going to have consensus tonight.
Your call on that one.
Okay.
But
Well, if we
for
have
that-
consensus, my call's the easiest way to do
But,
it. So.
but for waiver 1, we do need an individual motion because you got to make a specific finding.
Okay, are you following this, Will? You're the one making the motion. You understand what he's saying?
So,
Yeah, we just, we need to pull up the findings.
Okay, let's give it a shot, and you're gonna help us. Assist him with the motion.
Those are the standards you have to find for that waiver 1.
You did a good job tonight, really. I'm serious. No, stay there. I mean, you did well. You almost won me over. Getting close.
They can consent.
Didn't they go
Yes,
on further
correct.
in this to
Yes.
say where it complies? Waiver request number 1 approved.
For example, the motion is to approve waiver number 1, finding that particular circumstances justify the reduction in the area size.
Requirements of residential plan developments would be the benefits of residents communities. So I should just read these 3.
Or just the 1.
I'm so glad I'm doing this.
I think staff found that this
Who
one.
would have thought, Brian?
Okay.
You'd be successful.
I feel like I'm almost used to it right now.
Oh, you have an idea? Oh, it's so close. So you're knocking
So
on
the only
door.
one that requires separate is waiver number 1, correct. The other ones can be consensus together. Yes. So
Okay.
It's a clown show.
solve the issue.
So I move that the planning board recommend to the city commission approval of planning board case number 2003, a request by Brian Seymour, Esquire of Gunster, and Tyler Woolsey of Urban Design Studio on behalf of 5400 North Flagler Limited Partnership for a rezoning to change the zoning designation of the subject property from multifamily high-density residential MF32 to residential plan development with waivers from the city zoning and land development regulations to allow for the construction of a 97-unit, 367-foot high multifamily development. The motion is based on the testimony presented at the hearing, along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitutes competent substantial evidence. The planning board hereby makes findings of fact that the application complies with the required standards in section 94-32A, 94-35C, 94-207C, and 94-309F of the City of West Palm Beach zoning and land development regulations, referencing the staff report that the particular circumstances justify such reduction. Does that work, Sam?
You're going to do an individual motion for waiver number 1. That's when you'll include that condition.
That is waiver number 1. That's the
Rezoning.
This is the rezoning.
Oh, the zoning. I'm sorry. Okay, so I need to go to waiver number 1.
Do you want us to vote on this?
The vote on waiver, the rezoning, yes.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion second. There will be multiple motions.
Okay.
We have a motion and second for the rezoning. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Go ahead.
Okay.
Next motion.
Next motion. Okay, so we're going to do what, the PD waiver number 1?
Yes.
Okay. I move that the Planning Board recommend to the City Commission approval of Planning Board Case Number 2003, a request by Brian M. Seymour, Esquire, of Gunster and Tyler Woolsey of Urban Design Studio on behalf of 5400 North Flagler Limited Partnership for a rezoning, for a waiver of the PD minimum area. This motion is based upon the testimony presented at the hearing, along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitute competent substantial evidence. The Planning Board here makes finding of fact. The Planning Board here makes finding of fact that the application complies with the required standards. Do these apply?
That one I have pointed out to you, specifically finding that it meets the requirements of.
Okay, great. Specifically finding according to ZLDR section 94-207C number 2, that the particular circumstances justify such reduction. Does that cover it?
Yes.
All right. We have a motion. Have we a second?
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Next motion.
Okay.
Or are we done? No, one more.
So now, do I need the?
Sam, what else we need?
What we got?
Motion now for 2, 3, and 4.
You do.
They were was incorporated.
So.
Do we need to do more, is the question, Sam?
No, I think the 2, 3, and 4 was approved as part of the PD, the rezoning to the PD. The only one that's required, the
what our
separate one
group is
is the
saying.
minimum
That included
acreage
in the
required.
narrative? Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Section 94
You want
and
to say
all
one
of that,
thing
so
real quick? Okay, you're pushing it,
good.
my friend. It's late. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, thank you just for a minute of deference, and I know everybody likes to hear me talk, but first thing, I didn't do a good job on thanking staff on working on this application. It is a challenging process working our way. Also, heard you loud and clear. We are going to continue to work with staff and trying to come up with some way to incorporate on that multi-use path, some connections. What I didn't articulate in the presentation is we're already bringing the landscaping down from the park. So
Right.
please take in
But we also
consideration
talked
work
about
on that.
active use as well, not just landscaping things. But you'll work with staff and continue on that effort.
More activity.
You guys have good people here. I know you come up with a wonderful solution. You'll
Sam.
dazzle us all, just like you did with your project so far. All right.
Sam, do we
Thank
need
you.
to? Do we
will
need
now
to
move
read?
on to Planning Board Case Number
Wait a second,
2018.
Steve. Wait a second.
We got more?
Do we need to read this?
No, today already said
If conditions are imposed and modified?
we're moving on. Is this going to be a short one?
It's going to be a short one.
Are you doing it?
Perfect.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
we've read covers it.
Yes.
Awesome. Perfect. All right, go ahead.
It was not easy, I know.
Yeah, so you can use the staff letter, but if you want to go over really quick on yours, and then
What's that?
that's fine.
Which one? Urban?
Understand.
Check it out. Steve, are we adjourned or you got stuff?
Wow, they turn on you.
Exactly.
And Mr. Chair, I do have to leave, so I'm going to excuse myself.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate
Thank
you
you.
staying for the big one.
Absolutely. Thank you for the board members and colleagues. Thank you.
Safe travels.
Where are you off to? Okay, enjoy. Well, you just came, you come from, yeah. A little gift from West Palm Beach. Hurricane. All right, I understand this is a very brief presentation, is that
I
correct?
will make it as brief as possible. I'm glad the room has emptied out. This is
I
makes
know,
it less
I know.
nerve-wracking. It's my first time. I'm Jared Kaufman. I'm working on behalf of Semeta Properties, and Robert Semeta is the owner of 2711 Poinsettia Avenue. We are proposing an office building in the CMUD district of Northwood. It is a 9,500 square foot building, 3 stories. Everything that we've planned is in accordance to the code of the CMUD Edge District. We are asking for 2 variances and a waiver. We're going to be proposing to ask for a landscape buffer width reduction, a drive aisle width reduction, and a waiver for parking space count. So our first landscape buffer reduction, the code currently requires 5-foot minimum setback buffer. We're looking for a reduction to 2 feet with 3-foot variance in order to fit all of our parking. Due to narrow lot constraints and required site circulation, a 2-foot landscape buffer is proposed on both sides of the property. To compensate, the building is including a substantial open-air green terrace located on the roof of the 2nd story, accessible from the 3rd floor. The elevated green space contributes to visual greenery, stormwater benefits, and architectural relief. The feature enhances the pedestrian experience and fulfills the spirit of the code by prioritizing overall green space, even if not fully at the grade. Our second variance request, the code requires a 20-foot 2-way drive aisle. We're proposing to have the entrance and exit onto the property from the west alleyway to take traffic off of Poinsettia. In order to accommodate all of the parking and have enough driveway space, we're asking for a variance of 1.5 feet to shrink the driveway space in between and I'll show you in the site plan in a minute. The proposed 22.5 feet aisle allows for space for vehicle circulation while preserving an efficient layout for parking, structure, and landscaping. Professionally designed, the width maintains emergency access standards and conforms to and fill best practices already adopted elsewhere in the city. It poses no detriment to functionality or public safety. Our waiver request, currently the code requires 2.5 spaces per 1,000 square feet under the air. That would mean that we need 24 spaces. We are providing 16 spaces on site with 3 public street spaces. We're asking for a waiver of 5 spaces. If you would calculate the leasable square footage, we would be closer to 7,400, and that would have us fall in the required amount of spaces. So taking in consideration, that's all. Okay, that's all here. I should have read this first, sorry. While the code requires 24 parking spaces based on full under-air squidage, the site provides 16 on spaces from 3 public for a total of 19 functional spaces. The waiver reflects a practical and context-sensitive approach consistent with the goals of the CMUD Edge District. The neighborhood is highly walkable, served by public transit, and situated in a mixed-use environment that reduces vehicle dependency. So additionally, our initial plan was to have traffic enter on Poinsettia and exit at the alleyway, but after speaking with planners at the city, they recommended to provide a better frontage of the building and to take traffic off of Poinsettia to have the exit and entrance on the back. So we initially proposed a different building, and this is what we came up with. Can I switch
really quick to my presentation so you guys can see the plans?
Thank you.
You're welcome. This is the one right here. Thanks for bearing with me, folks. There we go.
And me.
Go for it. Yes.
Okay, so 2711 Poinsettia is right on the edge in the Curry mixed use. It's currently a vacant, it's a residential property that's been used as an office building. So our surrounding uses are multifamily, residential, and office buildings. You can see there's the subject property and surrounding areas. Our site plan, you can see here, offers 3 stories. Rob, do you have anything to add to what we're doing? This is Robert Sameta, who's the owner.
Just my comments would be, I think,
If you mind, state your name for the record.
Robert Sameta, Sameta Properties. I'm the owner of the property. I think what we'd like to convey here today is that we've tried to work diligently with staff and planners to accommodate both, all of their recommendations, and I think we've landed at a place where I think we're in agreement, but we'll hear their comments. I think the functionality for traffic and, the accessibility to the site was the major concern of staff, and I think we've addressed that by now bringing, the access point to the property from the back laneway, both in and out, and, to do that because of the site size and some of the constraints of, working on a small site, we had to adjust the landscape buffers and the laneway size to address that. So I think we're all in agreement that that was the solution, and that's why we're here to gain your support.
Okay, any questions of the applicant? Go ahead.
Just one question on the calculation for tabulating your parking. Just because I've been through this same process myself. Did you net out the areas that were not office use? So like circulation, storage, stuff?
Yeah, that 7,452 would be unleasable space.
Only leasable.
Only leasable space.
But leasable space, that's actual office space.
Occupied office space.
Okay.
All right, any other questions of the applicant? If not, thank you. Can we hear from staff?
One quick question.
So close. I got to be faster.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So the 7,400 square feet, is it like office, like one office? Is it multiple offices?
We're basically building a shell to bring in
at this point, it's spread out over two floors predominantly. We don't have a tenant in place, so we're building it to accommodate future tenancies. So we can't speak to what use it'll be, but
okay. The question was really because with the parking, if you're asking for a waiver on the parking, it would be nice to know if there was a specific use already in mind, if you had a use, if you're just thinking a multitude of uses.
Yeah, we're thinking hopefully we'd like it to be medical use, but we can't speak to that at this point. And we'll market in that direction, and we feel like it could potentially be multiple tenants, or it could be a standalone marquee building for one tenant. But it's hard to address that at this point or understand what it's going to be.
Got it. Okay.
All right, thank you. May we hear from staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Luis Vicentini, Senior Planner, for the record, Development Services. So I continue to my staff PowerPoint analysis. So yes, so this is the ground floor proposed. As you can see, there is a landscape also. As you notice, there is 3 parking spaces adjacent to the property, from the property. They're part of the calculation for the overall parking area. As the applicant stated, they're proposing 16 on-site parking spaces and 3 off-site parking spaces, which is the overall 19 parking spaces. They're required 24 according to a CMUD code. They are requesting a waiver to reduce 5 parking spaces. Just for the record, it's standard parking space. It's not compact. So they're proposing standard parking spaces. They're also requesting a reduction of the drive aisle to accommodate the on-site parking spaces, and staff has no issues with that. We really like the idea that the fact that they actually changed the entire site. When this proposal came at first, they were actually accessing the property from Poinsett Avenue, which was a big no-no for us. And therefore, we, the staff and worked together with the applicant, and they decided to change that to activate the ingress-egress of the property from the 50-foot drive aisle to the west of the property, which worked out pretty well. Staff has no issues with the request of the waiver. Neither we have issues with the required landscape buffer setback requirements that they are proposing to reduce to accommodate the parking spaces. Also, staff believes that the articulation of the ground floor connecting, as you can see, there's an activation with an office at the ground floor, and they proposed four bike lanes, also bike spaces, when the CMUD requires only 2, so they're actually going above and beyond what is required per code. And they also propose a sort of a T-turn also, that you can actually turn your parking within the site, and actually I can show on the next, there we go, on this one here. So as you can see here, they also provided this organogram that indicates the auto turn, to show us how the parking is going to work and how the vehicular driveway is going to function within the site. I think it's pretty fair what they've done with all the site constraints that they're imposed. So let me go to the next one. So this is the parking waiver. We already discussed this. And he said correctly that if he was going to calculate according to the net, they actually would meet the parking requirement, the on-site and off-site parking spaces, which is 19. So yeah, staff believes that the application complies with the variance standards, also complies with the waiver standards. And also for the level 3 special review permit, staff believes that the request, the proposed development, meets all the section of the code 9455 Bravo 1A in relation to the building site surroundings, circulation and traffic flow, building design, public realm. So staff supports the request according to sections 9430D6, 9455E of the City of West Palm Beach Zoning and Development Regulations. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Questions of staff? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any concerns about this application? No. And if not, I'm looking for a motion for approval.
Motion for approval. I'm like Peter.
Is that the technical language you were looking for?
I'll take Peter's job tonight. Motion for approval.
I know, we miss Peter. He loved reading those.
All right, so the first one I'm doing is granting the variances, correct? I move the planning board grant the variances associated with planning board case number 2018, a request by Robert Hollyman and Jared Kaufman of Logan Realty, Inc., applicant on behalf of Robert Cimetta of Cimetta Properties, owner, for the approval of a level 3 special review along with variances and a waiver to develop a mixed-use project known as 2711 Poinsettia Avenue, located within the Curry Mixed-Use District, CMUD Edge. This motion is based upon the testimony presented at the hearing, along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitutes competent substantial evidence. The planning board hereby makes findings of fact that the application complies with each of the applicable criteria in Article 2, Section 94-38D6 of the City of West Palm Beach Zoning and Land Development Regulations. Are there conditions?
Mr. Thomas?
No
is that motion
conditions?
sufficient?
All right.
Okay, no conditions. All right, we have a motion. Have we a second? Motion and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
All right. Granting, is there a level 3 special we have to do as well, right?
That's correct.
Mike?
Yes,
you
that
mentioned-
is part of the application, the special level 3 application.
Okay.
You want me to do it?
Yeah, go ahead.
I move that the planning board grant planning board case number 2018, a request by Robert Hollyman, Jared Kaufman of Logan Realty Incorporated, applicant on behalf of Robert Chimetta of Chimetta Properties, owner, for the approval of a level 3 special review along with variances and a waiver to develop a mixed-use project known as 2711 Poinsettia Avenue, located within the Korea Mixed-Use District Edge. This motion is based upon the testimony presented at the hearing, along with the application submitted in the staff report, which constitute competent substantial evidence. The planning board hereby makes finding of fact that the application complies with each of the applicable special review standards found in section 94-55B2 of the City of West Palm Beach zoning and land development regulations.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. All right, that then brings us to code revision cases, of which there are none. That brings us to other business, unfinished business, new business. Anna Marie, you have something else for us?
I just wanted to clarify for you one thing that was mentioned at the other case regarding the Flagler overlay. Which one is the slide?
Is that one we already voted on? You're bringing it back to us at 8:50? I'm just checking. We have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second to the motion?
5400 self-presentation here.
It fails
Just
for lack of
very
a second.
quickly,
Really quick,
because-
just, she wants to, yeah, this is something.
So when the applicant mentioned that the overlay will allow this, I wanted to show you it was not accurate. The envelope, it's the gray shape is the envelope with the setbacks, but with the FAR restriction that we are imposing, you can never fill the envelope in its totality. So
Well,
the
this is
the blue outline is what, if you apply the FAR, that's what you could build. If you do a taller building, this is what you could build. So we just wanted to clarify that.
Let's next time, please catch it during the presentation rather than after the vote. It
Well,
doesn't help us that
this
much.
is not related, because they were not subject to the overlay,
Right,
so we
right,
didn't
okay,
want to
okay,
mention it, but,
okay.
but I wanted to point it out for
Okay.
your
All
knowledge.
right. Anything else?
That's it.
Angela? Okay, thank you, guys. Have a good evening. We stand adjourned. Tough room.